Okay, I've already started. It's already live. All right, hello everybody. Happy Saturday to you guys. Let me turn on here and get myself set up because it always takes me a few minutes to set everything up. And let's see here. Let's go to your channel. Let me turn down this light because it makes my face whited out. It's too many. It's so bright. And I've already got someone waiting for me. That's great. All right, hello everybody. And I was waiting since 5 minutes to 8. Well, thank you, Patty. Looks like Patty and Tammy is there. All right, so let me turn on that sound. Get to what I'm doing here because there's a few things I have to set up in the beginning to get it all ready to go. Even though I'm live. While I'm doing this, there's a few things that need to be due, and I really can't do it until it is live. Like what I just did now. And I think it's there, but I'll check here in a second. In the description, there is a Zoom ID and passcode. So if you have Zoom, all you have to do is click join a meeting, and then you just put in the ID and the passcode, and that should get you in. So one other, oh, that's not it. Let's go back to live and go here and do another thing on the edit here. And we're going to put this in the live playlist, and I'm gonna say, so you can find me, put JeffMara and JeffMara and JeffMara and put live stream and save that. And then I just gotta post this live on Facebook. And if you guys have not done so, maybe you can join my official Facebook page on Facebook. I have a JeffMara Facebook page. Get a shareable link, and let's go to Facebook here real quick and post that there. And that is there. And then one more thing. I need to get my wife's computer set up. So what I'm going to do is come back here and let me turn it on live so I can see that everything's good. That's not live. Let's see if I do this. Maybe I should do this. Your channel. And there is live. And great. 34 people here. All right, give me one more second, maybe 10 seconds. Oh, my person's gone. That's crazy. She was there, and just as I moved, she left. Maybe she'll be back here in a second. So, let's see. Who is here? Dana, welcome. You can't hear me. Can you hear me now? Let's see if anybody else can hear. Caroline, welcome. Deborah, hello. James, hello. Tammy, hello. I am not on Max. Neil from Russia. Baka, Neil. Penny, hello. And anyone else? So let me know if the volume's working, because one or two people mentioned that said they can't hear. Turn up volume. One says can, one says can't. You got to let me know, because I'll have to go adjust some things if you can't hear. Can hear well. Can hear you great. So happy to able to watch. Well, thank you. I'm so happy to have you. And I'll say this now, and I'll probably say this later. Oh, Amber's back. All right, well, I'll say that afterwards. Let's get right to it, and let's invite Amber in and see what's up. And I don't think I've seen Amber before, so it's even cool when I don't even know the people. That's one of the things that honestly is fun for me about the podcast is when I don't know who the guest is. I like that. I mean, I like everybody anyways, but it's even more interesting because when I have no idea who it is. So I get to meet a new person. It's kind of like making a new friend, right? Everybody's saying it's good. Michelle, hello in New York City. I hope everything's going well there. I wonder if it's starting to get cold there. We got cold here. This morning it was 62. That's a cold morning for us in a long time. Probably the last time it was 62 in the morning was March. That's how long it's been. All right, as we're waiting as I'm waiting for Amber, a lot of people, well, not really probably many people know I'm a chiropractor, and I don't generally practice anymore, even though I keep my license current, but I'm really keyed into a lot of health things, especially with food and diet and all kinds of stuff. And I've read this before. I don't know who made this up, but I believe it to be true, that health is like a triangle. And I'm going to talk about this till Amber gets on. So if you imagine a triangle, one point of the triangle is mental or spiritual health. One point is physical health, and one point is chemical health. And so when you raise one, you raise them all. And when you lower one, you lower them all. And Amber's gone. So these podcasts, a lot of people, I believe it helps them spiritually, these NDE podcasts. So it's a great thing because when we help you spiritually, we're going to help you a little bit chemically and physically too, right? If you're happier, then your body's going to, create chemicals that are more beneficial towards your health. And then it's going to actually help your physical body as well. Hopefully Amber will make it back. We'll wait for her. And there's 61 of you here and it's open. So you're welcome to join. Don't be shy. Let's see. Linda from New York. Tammy, I can't turn any louder, but others could turn theirs down. Not sure what's going on there. Hello, Studio LB. Yes, I naturally have a soft voice. I don't know why. It's just me. Marie Alexis. Let's see who Marie is. I'm going to hit ask to start video. I think your microphone is too far. Now I'm like literally touching my microphone. It may be the filter on my microphone because I have a filter that also kind of blacks out. Darn, this person didn't make it either. It blacks out other noise because I'm in a transitional place right now and there's a lot of noise where I am. So I put this filter on that limits the noise to a certain amount of sound. So maybe that limiting on the mic kind of does that too at some point. Hey folks, a lot of people are predicting a brutal, long, cold winter. I think the Farmer's Almanac, if you guys know what that is, probably older people like me may out there know what the Farmer's Almanac is, but the Farmer's Almanac has predicted a cold winter. Now I'm South Texas. I don't know how cold it'll get here, but for you guys up north, it may be really cold. That's a great way of thinking it. I hear you fine, Dr. Jeff, but your sound has been fine the entire time. So I don't know. Anyways, back to the triangle of health. So I read this article today, and I'll share this with you. And if you can read it on Mercola.com, that all seed oils are bad for you. I don't know. I haven't investigated it, but I found it very interesting. And they were talking about in antiquity, the only antique civilization that had heart disease and obesity was the ancient Egyptians. And if you look at the statue of the guy who they erected who was the person who was the architect apparently of the pyramids, there's a statue of him and it's an overweight guy. And they also said there's some queen or something that was mummified, that she was obese and balding. And they said that not everyone in ancient Egypt was obese, overweight, and sick. Only the wealthy people or perhaps the royals. And that was because they were actually consuming flaxseed oil and sesame oil. So that is your health news for the day. And I don't still have anybody. I don't know what happened. 2 people have tried and failed to get in. So I will mention this as well. Sometimes I don't get my videos out in time because of my computer. Our computer's about 6 years old, and over years, things upgrade, the software upgrades, but the hardware is still old. So it's just getting longer and longer for the computer to process the video. Takes me about an hour and a half to record one, takes me tops, or me and my wife editing 2 to 3 hours to edit, but can take up to 8 hours for the computer to process it, basically. And the other day I made one little error. Well, not really, but kind of a small error, but I just had to fix something. It didn't take me but like 2 minutes to fix it, but it had to reprocess and redo all the stuff, which made it wait another 8 hours. So that's why I couldn't post it that night. But in the meantime, I was still recording. So I think we already got tomorrow night's ready, and I've recorded 2 more, and I finally got an OBE with a Hindu woman that saw Hindu gods, and I've got an NDE-like experience with an emergency room doctor who's also a Hindu, and we talk about Hinduism. So I know you guys wanted me to get other cultures and non-Americans in on the podcast, so I think you guys are going to like these. And in the article, they talk about every seed oil. So I think it was, who asked that? June Zenner, I think, asked. But according to the article, it's everything. Cottonseed, sunflower, avocado, olive, canola, corn, basically everything. I mean, basically, they were saying in the 1800s, heart disease was almost non-existent in America, as well as cancer. And the only thing they used for cooking oil in the U.S. in the 1800s was butter or pork fat or beef tallow. And pork fat is lard, and beef tallow is kind of like lard. Have I tried getting Dr. Stephen Greer on the show? I have, and he has had an NDE, and I have been unsuccessful at getting him. If you guys are a fan of his, maybe you can contact him for me and see if you can get him on. That would be great. And Louise, I have. If you look on my Facebook page, you can see it there. Because what I need to get is very high end. So this isn't going to be, if I don't get any guests, I don't know if you guys are going to want to sit and listen to me ramble for 2 hours. And I've talked to some other people that is, at least I know one other person that said there's coming. There's always people that trickle in and out. But he says Cleopatra is thick. So anyways, yeah, that is it for that. I thought that was fascinating. It would be pretty cool to get that doctor on, but I don't know how it would go. So far, I see like the number 1 thing on the channel is obviously NDEs. I'm starting to think that the number 2 style of video on the channel is angels. I think you guys really like angel videos. And then number 3 so far is UFOs. That's even bigger, I think, than general OBEs. So those are the 3. I would like to do NDEs every day, but I don't even know if I want to do NDEs every day because I actually like mixing it up. But it's almost impossible to do NDEs every single day because it's just not that easy to find them. And I still think I find more than anybody because I probably do 4 or 5 a week, but it's not that easy to get them. And so I have to add other stuff. So I want to give you guys stuff that you want to see. Abby says she's astral traveled within her head only. There was a cord coming out the back. Well, why don't you get on and share it with us? Greer only does paid interviews. Ooh, I haven't paid anybody. I don't think it would be worth it to do that. Timothy Picks. My channel is getting 800 view per hour. That's awesome. What are you doing? All right. Bluebird talks to her guardian angel. And for those of you who don't remember, I've already, if I mentioned it, I don't know if I mentioned it last week or not. I've already got my Halloween mask for the Halloween one because, and I got a cool one because it only covers me here. So my voice is still there, not like my mouth is covered. So that works out perfect. So that's in 2 weeks from today is the Halloween one. And in 2 weeks, it's costume optional. Mary Polly. Let's see what Mary's up to. Let's see if she can make it. Hopefully it's not Zoom. It's just something that's going on. She's halfway there because her microphone is there. So it means maybe she can hear me. We'll see. Sleep paralysis. Yeah, I was looking into, someone said something to me the other day. And by the way, a lot of people catch me on the Facebook, on the JeffMara Facebook page. If you want to message me, that's probably one of the best ways to message me is there. And quite a few people, if not a lot, just message me and they'll tell me, hey, can you get so-and-so guest on? All right, so maybe we can get Mary on. I'll hit ask to start video while we're waiting. Do you need to upload Zoom to be able to talk to me? Yes, you do, Caroline. It's a free app, and you got to have it in your phone or your computer. And then once you get it, you can just either go. I put the link on the Facebook community post, but even in the description below, you can just go into your Zoom and click join a meeting. And once you do, I put the meeting ID room, which it'll ask you for. You key in that number, and then it'll ask you for passcode, and then you type that in, and it should be good to go. You guys like Charles? He likes Kira. Yes, she was. Yeah, she was a fun guest. When is Eben Alexander? I have him scheduled for October 29th, although it'll probably take a couple days to get it processed and uploaded. It just depends on what my schedule is. Right now it's running in 2 days. Like if I recorded someone today, I'd have him up in 2 days. So most likely he would be the 31st on Halloween. And now we got people. Great. So we got Megan DeGenova. All right, we'll wait first and see if Mary can get on. Oh, Megan left. And Megan's having little problems. You may try, but you're nervous. It's just you and me. And 128 of your closest friends, your closest NDE friends, we're all hanging out together. You, me, and 129 people. Joy for Balance. Oh, that sounds like an interesting name. I wonder if I know her. What is going on with Mary's? And I'm drinking again. This is my Topo Chico. For those of you who don't know, this is like the Mexican version of Perrier. It comes from Mexico. I live about 2 hours from Mexico, so it's actually really good. We get it at our local grocery stores here. And they're not paying me to say this. I'm just chit-chatting with you. All right, so maybe I'll try this. I'm going to put Mary, I'm going to keep her here, but I'm going to put her back into the waiting room, and let's see if we can get... Oh, I don't think I removed her. I think I put her in... I'm sorry if I did, but I don't think so. I thought I clicked put in the remaining room, and let's see if we can get Joy on and see if Joy is there. Joy! I feel like I can hear you. I heard something a minute ago. Or a second ago, or whatever. Ask to start video.
Joy.
Do you hear me? I hear you. All right, here we go.
Hi, I'm sorry you're in my ear and there's a pause.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah, let me get this out of my ear.
All
See if
right.
that
Is
works.
that better?
Much better.
So, are you on the West Coast?
I am on the West Coast. I am North County, San Diego in Oceanside.
Oh, awesome. So, you're over there by Legoland.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been to Legoland. It's a pretty cool place.
Yeah.
And you
No, I love it here and we spoke briefly
did
and
I speak to you last week?
no, it was probably 2 weeks ago. I
Okay.
was actually getting on Discord and I
Mm-hmm.
don't know how to do Discord and so it was
Oh,
like a learning thing.
all right.
But yeah, I actually joined the group that was going on their own calls on Zoom
Mm-hmm.
and, had a great time there. And so I thought, well, I'd really love to be part of this.
Awesome. Thank you. I have a guest. I don't know if you saw last Saturday, but there was a guy and a chiropractor driving in his car from North San Diego. You may even know him.
Oh, yes, yes, I
Did you
remember
see
that.
him? And they were supposed to.
Yeah.
He said they wanted. She was saying her husband wanted to be on the show, and but they never contacted me. So maybe they will.
Oh, that's too bad.
Ah, that's
Yeah.
all right. It's okay. They'll come around when they're ready. So
Well, they
what?
all have busy lives, but anyway.
Yes. So what's going on in your life?
Well, wow. I'm so happy to be here. And, I didn't have an NDE,
Mm-hmm.
but I can rewind to a time where I might have to walk upstairs because my bird's going to go nuts, um, where I actually had a UFO
Oh,
experience.
really? Really? What
Now, I
happened?
didn't see the UFO itself,
Mm-hmm.
um, but the bright light.
Hmm.
At the time, I was driving through the desert with my husband. At the time, we were coming back from Texas, coming back to California, and we were in the middle of the desert. And all of a sudden, there's this bright, I'm talking bright, blinding bright, coming down from, the top. And I'm just like, wake up. I'm trying to wake up my husband.
I hope he was driving.
No, I was driving.
Okay.
And I'm going, oh my God, you got to check this out. Well, by the time he went ahead and woke up, it was too late. But there were, car brakes going off. People were going, what is this? I knew right away it was something very special. And so that was one of my experiences.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sorry. Let me get set up here.
Now let me ask you a question.
Uh huh.
I had a guest on about a month ago that he gets night vision goggles and he looks at the sky. He kind of calls it sky fishing, and you can find UFOs up there. So keep that in mind. I had another guest that. Do you know what a green astronomy laser is?
No.
You can buy them on eBay for probably $20 or less, but they're amazing. It's like a laser pointer, but they're so strong that you can see the beam going like Star Wars for like 2 miles.
Oh, wow.
So I had another guest of mine a long time ago, is a great guest, Ronnie Dawson, that was flashing. He used to see UFOs all the time way out in West Texas. He was an oil driver, and he saw one and started shooting his green laser at the ship. And
Mm-hmm.
that night they paid him a visit. So let me ask you, if you had a laser pointer, would you point it at a ship if you saw one to try to get its attention?
That's an interesting question because I probably wouldn't. I would probably try to communicate otherwise.
Mm.
Um, just to give a little history of me, um, I talk to my angels and my guides, and I have intuitive messages that come in because I do tarot reading, but I've been a hypnotherapist for 16 years.
Mm.
And so I today had to do a test for a new technique, 6 hours. Anyway, I got through that so I could be here.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And so, anyway, back to my point, I've had many experiences um, that were supernatural. Um, my, I don't know if they're my guides, my relatives, or whoever are coming to me to let me know they're here. I've had fire alarms go off. I've had my faucet come on out of nowhere. There's been many experiences that I've experienced. Um, but I think the most profound for me is plugging into my guides.
Mm.
They have been profound and they guide me through my readings. Um, and I've done some channel stuff where I talk about different things. Um, and I have a YouTube channel where I have those, registered, mostly tarot.
Cool.
So,
What's your YouTube channel name?
um, oh my goodness.
I'm plugging you here so everybody can check
Oh,
it
I
out.
know. Thank
I'm
you.
giving you free advertising. What is it? So
Okay,
they can all
Joy
check.
for Balance dot channeled. I think they say channel dot energy. But if you go Joy for Balance, you'll find me, and it's the number 4.
Joy for Balance. You can check out our YouTube channel. So on your YouTube channel, are you doing channelings, or are you just talking, or what's going on?
Well, I have it broken down in several categories because I do self-help because of the hypnotherapy. And so I've been trying to build that. I started my business back in November of last year when it came to tarot and that sort of thing. It was a wellness channel,
Mm-hmm.
but I've had to break it down as I'm growing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm growing it organically, so it's very slow growth.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm fine with that because I want individuals that are interested in what it is that I want to share.
Sure.
And so, anyway, I'm just excited,
Mm-hmm.
and it's been a lot of fun. I mean, it's a passion of mine.
That's great. That's awesome. Um, so have you ever, since you said you're a hypnotherapist, have you ever hypnotized anybody and regressed them to another planet?
Never regress to another planet, but that's something that I'm planning on doing. Um, it's always to a very young age, and part of my new training is going to actually help me to maybe take them there.
Cool.
And so I'm excited about it, but I can't talk much about it until, I just took my test today. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so you're not even going to past lives or lives in between lives, right?
not yet, but I plan to because
Yeah.
I know that they're there. And I know it's really important for people to really know what they've gone through.
Mm-hmm.
And, those experiences can really help us in how we're living today
Hmm.
on Earth. And, they're big lessons.
Mm-hmm.
And so to be able to regress somebody to go back there and understand some of the things that they had went through and maybe some of the fears that they're dealing with can stem from that.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be very therapeutic.
I had a guest a long time ago. My very first hypnotherapist guest was probably about 1 year ago. And he, I think, started out doing like helping people with smoking and stuff like that, weight loss maybe. And then he moved on to just, I guess, whatever, down to back to younger ages, kind of like what you doing. And then somehow he got into past life. And for him, he felt like past life regression was doing the most benefit for people. People are just hung up with this stuff on their past lives. And once you clear that out, they just have like these spontaneous healings.
Exactly. Because you're eliminating those things that still exist within your soul imprint.
Mm-hmm.
And so once you're able to deal with that, you're able to restructure and get them to realize that this was something you went through in a past life. This was not for you to go through today.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so you move them past that, and then they start their healing process, and it's beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's great. All right, Joy. Well, thank you so much for joining. I have to keep it on a certain amount of time to get
Sure.
everybody a chance, and I've got the next person waiting. So I appreciate you. Come back next week and share another one of your experiences with us.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Jeff, and you do a great job.
Thank you so much. You have a wonderful
Okay, take
evening.
care.
Bye-bye. All right, so she's a past life regressionist. No, she's not yet, but she's a hypnotherapist. Don't report. Let me put that on. Mary's here. We'll try to get Mary back in again because she was here earlier and couldn't make it. And while she's doing that, let me check something real quick with this just to make sure everything's working as it should be. And we'll hopefully she'll get on. And someone else came and left. I saw it was like 2 people waiting. So hopefully she'll be able to get on this time. Okay, and let me check one more thing to make sure it's working. And it is working. Perfect. And my wife will be along eventually. She's has something going on, but she'll be here to be in the chat. So when she gets here, that's who will be in the chat, is her, not me, chatting with you guys, obviously. So that's a good question to you guys. I think I would do it. If I had the night vision goggles and I saw the UFO, I would probably be willing to shine that green laser at the UFO to see what it would do, if I could get its attention. Would you guys do that? Now, Ronnie Dawson said, and you can go back and watch the video, it's one of my favorite videos that I've had on UFOs. He said that after he did that, the next night they paid him a visit at his house and they paralyzed him in his bed. He could watch, but he just for some reason couldn't move. He was in his bed. One of the aliens was kind of like a 4-legged being that was kind of like half human, half animal. And the other thing, and they kind of ransacked his house to find the laser, and they found the laser, and then they figured it was, I guess, harmless and left. But the story even gets, sorry about that. The story goes on even more, and so that's a good one. It's like I said, it's my top 1 or 2 UFO podcasts that I've done. So let's see. Anybody? Hello, William. Anybody? I like topics of NDEs. No, I would not do it. Too afraid. Green laser. Wow. Nope, I'm good. I want to join, but my camera's bad. Well, it's okay. Not everybody's camera's perfect, so you can still try. Lighthouse Wood. Yes and no. Have you guys ever seen the green lasers? I used to have one, and they're pretty cool. You can get them on eBay. You probably get them on Amazon now, because when I was buying it on eBay, Amazon, I don't even know if it was selling them back in, but I could have sworn I bought mine for like $11, $11.99, $12, so they're inexpensive. Probably the expensive thing to have right now if you want to play with that game is the night vision goggles. And I think what Doug did, that was one of my guests, is that he had an output from his goggles into a video screen, so he could just kind of watch like his iPad and point the thing at the sky. And he's doing it for a while, and looks like he could tell you what was a satellite, what is a plane, what is a helicopter. He understood the different things. All right, so let me try this. I'm going to put you back into the waiting room, Mary, and we'll bring in Jeff, and we'll see if you can get it sorted out. Put in the waiting room, and then we put Jeff into admit, and we'll see if he can get in. No way, I'm not into the challenge. Well, it's not really a challenge. Although, man, could you imagine for those people that are really into TikTok, if you want to start a TikTok challenge by flashing UFOs, that would probably be pretty huge on TikTok. I'd have to think about that. How you'd probably have to figure that out. Jeff, where are you from, bud?
Good evening, Jeff. I'm in North Carolina.
North Carolina. What part?
Raleigh.
Raleigh, okay. I don't think I've been to Raleigh. I've been to the western part in the Cherokee area. And I love it there. I want to move there if I could.
Raleigh is the capital of North Carolina.
Yeah? Are you getting cold up there yet?
Oh, not yet.
Not yet?
We don't get cold weather until January, February.
Well, and here in South Texas, we had a cold snap today, and it was 62 this morning.
Wow.
That's cold for us.
Mm-hmm.
So what's going on with you? Paranormally, spiritually, what you got going on?
Well, I had an experience in 1991, which
Okay.
obviously is, 30 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I was doing a camping safari in Tanzania,
Wow.
Africa.
Wow.
And we had started in Arusha. Well, we went from Nairobi to Arusha to Olduvai Gorge to Ngorongoro Crater. And from there, we went out into the Serengeti.
Okay.
And by the time you get out there, it's, you're in, this beautiful Eden. Nature's kind of an Eden. No civilization anywhere. And we were camping. We had all of our supplies, and to cook. And so, at any rate,
Is this
we
a
were
group?
tent camp.
Was this a group thing that you became
This
part
was a
of?
group. Yes,
All right, cool.
yes, this was in a group. People from, I don't know, there might have been 15 people or 20 people in the group, but we were tent camping. And I recall the person that was directing the safari, reminding us that if you have to get up during the night and go outside your tent to relieve yourself, that you should first listen, and then unzip your tent a little bit so you can look outside and just make sure that the coast is clear, because many of the predatory animals there prey at night.
Mm-hmm.
And so on this particular night, I woke up, realized I needed to go out. And so I listened, and I didn't hear anything. And I unzipped my tent, unzipped the flap, and I looked out into the middle of where we were all camped, and there was this beautiful, illuminated feminine figure in some type of gauzy robe or dress of some kind. And she was not touching the ground. She was several feet off the ground. She was very tall, and it was like she was illuminated from above. And she was slowly oscillating. And it was a beautiful image, and I was not afraid. It was a very beautiful image. And I zipped my tent back up and rolled over and thought about it for a minute, and then thought, well, I still have to go to the bathroom. So I unzipped the tent, looked out, and the camp was dark.
Wow.
And so I took care of my business and went back to sleep. And that was my one encounter with I don't know what she was, but
did you mention it to your guides that was along the camp?
I don't recall doing that. No.
You didn't tell anybody, huh?
Well, my traveling companion at the time, I told her about it, but that was it, as far as I remember.
Wow.
It was some type of apparition. It was very beautiful, very peaceful, serene. And believe me, there's nothing out there. We are, you're as far from civilization basically as you can get. There were no lights, city lights or otherwise. within several hundred miles, I suspect.
Now, what do you mean by oscillating? When you said she was oscillating, are you mean spinning, or she was pulsating in light, or
No, she was very slowly turning.
turning? Okay.
Yeah, very slowly turning. As I said, it was very peaceful, very beautiful, remarkable. I've never had an experience like that before or since.
Did that experience change you in any way?
I don't know that it has, Jeff.
You don't think so? I mean, yeah, I think it would. I would be just like blown away by it. Like, I don't know. You weren't. You didn't. I'm surprised you're even able to go back to sleep that night after seeing something like that.
Well, I think that whole experience, being a native of the West and our culture, just going to that environment, going to an environment where the animals, it's you're in their neighborhood and you play by their rules, and you be very careful and respectful. And I think that was mind-blowing enough to see, a herd of giraffe galloping across the savannah.
Yeah.
That blew my mind.
Yeah, I bet it would. Yeah, you probably had seen so many things already. Your brain was overstimulated.
Oh, by that time, yeah, the whole trip was the lionesses at Ngorongoro crater. As we went up the side of the mountain, the lionesses were within 2-3 feet of our vehicle. Yeah, and going across the Serengeti, watching a group of hyena. There must have been 12 or 15 of them that were following us, looking for snacks, I guess, or stragglers.
Would you have considered that experience, besides the apparition, just in general, would you consider that more of an adrenaline excitement experience because of all the dangerous animals, or would you have considered that more of a spiritual experience, being
That
in
was
nature?
much more spiritual experience. Yeah, very much so. I've never been a hunter. I'm a vegetarian. So I've always, respected animals and their right to exist, and so it was wonderful to be in their environment. And yeah, the whole trip was more of a spiritual awakening than an adrenaline rush. Certainly there were those adrenaline rushes, but that wasn't what it was about.
Yeah, I think at least one of my guests have said that just being out in nature is, you can almost have a spiritual awakening just being in nature.
I think so. Well, the Native Americans, their mythology is very much centered on nature and what nature can teach us and what wisdom it possesses. We can learn from it if we choose.
Right. All right, Jeff. Well, I appreciate you coming on and sharing, bud. I've got to get to my next person, but thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
And,
good night.
All right. Have a good night.
You too.
Cheers. All right. That was pretty cool. Seeing a apparition like that. Let's see if Mary can get in this time. Let's try her again. Looks like her name is spelled differently. Maybe she's trying like through a phone this time or something different. We'll see if she can make it. Oh, there you are. All right. We got it working this time. Your audio is connecting, so we're almost together. Mary, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right, you made it. Thanks for thanks for joining me. Where are you from today?
Well, today I'm in Ohio.
In Ohio. All right. What part of Ohio?
I'm near Cincinnati.
Cincinnati. All right. My my geography is of Ohio is not that great. Cincinnati is southern Ohio, near
Yes, it's the bottom corner.
bottom corner near Kentucky, right?
Yep, you're right above Kentucky and right near Indiana.
There we go. All right. So what's going on with you today?
Well, I just got to this little corner, so I've been exploring it. Not a lot's going on. I've got little dogs. I made him blue for my enjoyment.
Oh, what kind of dog is that?
He's a little Maltese. He's 4 months old.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. It's funny is my dog was down crying and she wanted up and she kind of looks like your dog.
Yeah, it does. And for yours is white. Look, Bo.
Yeah.
And then I have Benny, who's a 4-year-old.
Penny. What is
Benny.
that? Is that a Is that
So
a?
Yorkie Maltese.
All right, it's the same thing as she. She's half Maltese, half Yorkie. So
This one, I don't know. He's supposed to be half Maltese, but there's no Maltese in this dog.
so we have the same taste in dogs.
Just a bizarre. Well, I used to use him in my work. I'm a nurse, so I used to take Benny every day to work.
Uh-huh.
And if you needed anything done with any person, you say you can hold the doggy, and he'd be in a stroller, and you could get anything done as long as you passed over that dog. Blood
wow.
test, no problem.
Yeah.
Just talk to the doctor, no problem. Let me see that wound, no problem.
Well, what's great, I don't know about Yorkies, but what's great about Malteses is their hair is closer to human hair. So
Same thing like him because I'm
it's
allergic to everything else.
yeah, so you're not allergic, you won't be allergic to these dogs and they don't shed. So that's
Yeah.
Great. So if
They
you
don't
have
like to be combed, they don't like to be bathed, but that's too. But he is every other day.
so that's interesting. Yours is the same way because our dog doesn't like to take a bath. So have you had anything going on with you spiritually or paranormally or anything like that?
I've had some life events that have been kind of crappy, but then when I've centered myself, I felt like, well, my soul's all's well with my soul. I feel like I've done the right things.
Mhm.
And when events like I should have been anxious with what was going on, I wasn't. I was calm through the whole thing.
Okay.
And so I feel like I'm more connected now just because of that. I don't get a lot of spiritual things like on command. I'll get like knowledge sometimes where it just comes and I'll know something.
Mhm.
Like I had this car that I hated. It was a Previa, and I would every time I get in this car, like I hate you, car. I hate you, car.
Wow.
So I'd be driving along, and all of a sudden, this little song came in my head. It falls apart. I'll buy itself. It falls apart. And 3 times it said, "It falls apart. I'll buy it." And 3 days later, the car just stopped in the middle of the street. It would not go further. It was just.
Now, do you think you were creating it to fall apart from that song, or just a coincidence?
The song came into my head right before, like 3 days before it just stopped. So I think I was creating it by telling it I hated it every day.
Wow.
So now when I drive my Tesla, I tell it how much I love it every day because I do.
Do you have the newer ones that they drive themselves?
I have a 2018 that does have full self-driving capability because the previous owner put all that on there.
Oh, wow.
And also because I have the 2018 before July, the streaming is not, the subscription is already paid for the life of the car.
Awesome.
So I really got lucky, and it's such a safe car. Like if I want to go into a lane and I that blind spot that you have, it shows you, it shows you on the screen that there's something right there.
Oh, nice. I've never
Sometimes
been.
you can't see if there's cars are in a certain spot, and it will show you that the 8 cameras are just phenomenal.
I've never driven one. Have you? How is it? What is it like when you just turn it on, drive by itself? Have you used it?
I don't like it to do auto drive because it likes to drive close to the yellow line. I like to drive close to the other line. So I fight, and I always like knock it off center,
Wow.
and make it, I always, and turning its auto drive off because I'll stir it, and, because you just break it, because you have your hands on the wheel the whole time, and you can tell it you're not going to be over there, and it'll just, you go like, and it'll, turn it off.
Really?
But the cruise control is amazing because you put it on cruise control, and if you go behind somebody and that person slows down, it slows down. And you can say, keep me 7 lengths behind that car. Keep me 2 lengths behind that car.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
And it really is.
I had heard, I think it would be pretty cool to this, like, just to drive somewhere. And I can you just put it on auto drive, and then on your thing, you can just say, okay, watch YouTube. And you can watch YouTube while the car's driving you to work or whatever.
I guess you could, but I'm too chicken to do that. I don't have that much faith.
Well, maybe they'll get better. Maybe the newer ones are better. I don't know.
Probably is better. And there's another upgrade. If I want to pay him, $5,000, I'll do another upgrade to it, which maybe will make it better.
Wow, that's
But
a
I'm
lot
not
of money.
I'm not in a position to cough up $5,000 for that when I'm afraid if it's, even going on a slow road, I'd do it just to see how it worked. And it was too much for me. I couldn't let go. I guess I'm too much of a control freak in my car.
Wow. All right. So you got anything else you wanna share with us?
That's pretty much it.
That's pretty much it. Well, that's okay. I mean,
I wish it was intuitive and could do like hypnosis and stuff. I do healing with Reiki. I've had older people that are 70 and older can tell me, they can tell me I have healing in my hands. I've never had anybody younger say that, but people that are over 70, I've had several of them say that. My mother.
Oh, it's interesting. Why do you think that is?
I don't know.
Are you a Reiki master?
No, I'm only number 2. So I would have more to, but I know that, the younger people will tell me that they feel loved. They'll tell me that when I care for them, they feel loved.
Okay.
And I guess that's what a good nurse should make you feel loved. I mean,
oh, so what are you an RN?
I'm an RN.
Oh, okay, great. So what are you actually treating people, or it seems like RNs a lot of times get like into the management, like manage the nurse's station or stuff like that.
I've been on the floor in my last job. I wasn't in love with that. Being on the floor, I don't like doing the medications. I do like doing the care conferences and all the treatments and the wounds, and I like the case management and that part of it. I like everything but giving medications. I like looking at the chart, finding out what's wrong, assessing the patient, finding out what makes them better. What treatment are they resistant to? How can we make them accepting of their treatment to get better? How can we get the best quality of life?
Right. Have you ever seen anybody that's had an NDE?
Yes.
Really? What was that like?
The most this was in the 70s when I was in ER and I was a medical technologist at the time. But we had this guy and he had come in he had some chest pain, so they put him on the EKG and they brought him and said, well, the doctor says, well, is there somebody we can call for you? And then the guy coded. So they brought him back and they put the thing in his, intubated, put the airway in, not intubated, but put the airway in. He comes back to life. He wakes up, pulls out the airway, and says the phone number.
It says what?
The phone number to the guy that answers a cardiologist question. I thought the cardiologist was going to fall over.
He told the cardiologist his own phone number.
Phone number? No, the phone number. The cardiologist says there's somebody we can call. A phone we can call. And then the guy coded, and he was gone for a couple of minutes, and then he came back, pulled the airway out of his mouth, and said the phone number.
Oh, okay. So
we had forgotten we asked him that because we were just like, then you go into code mode and for him to say that, the doctor was just like, oh my gosh, I wasn't ready to write down a phone number now, but oh my God, how did you remember that through all that whole thing?
That is a great story. How did he do that?
But I've had other people where like I've been there at the moment of death and I've seen like white and blue light. I felt surges of electricity. I've had one lady that when I was in hospice care that she had a rheumatic heart. And when she passed, I felt like something had jumped on my chest. And I called my work and I said, hey, am I coming in, for this patient today? And they said, actually, you're not. We were just about ready to call you. So, but sometimes they don't tell me a thing. And sometimes you don't get anything.
Wow.
I guess it just depends on how connected you are with your patient at that time. And if they think that they need, want to come see you.
Wow.
I've had friends that have passed over that have come to me as they've passed. I'm like, one time I would, this music was in my head. I haven't heard that music since, like 1976. Let me go listen to this music. And I'm listening. Boy, that reminds me of this friend. Let me go look up this friend. And they had passed on the day I had started looking for that music.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
But I don't get a lot. I don't get anything like it will. Like if I ask, hey, can I have an answer to something? I think it's, yeah, figure it out.
Right. Well, I think a lot of things are spontaneous. Are spontaneous, just like what you're saying. One second, I think someone want me to ask you a question. Karen is asking, what is it called when you feel a stabbing pain in your heart the moment that they pass?
Heart attack. That was what I would think.
No,
Like when Shauna felt that on my, I felt like somebody jumped on my chest, and she had a rheumatic heart, which is what was the thing that put her out. But I would say it's a heart attack. I would say you're feeling the heart attack that they had.
oh, okay, yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Hopefully she got that. All right.
This is my opinion, not a fact or anything.
Well, it makes sense that, like whatever they're feeling, that's in the general area, heart attack, heart pain, I don't,
Yeah.
there's
Well,
not.
then one lady that I was with at the time of death that I saw the blue and white light. I went home, and I hadn't. It was one of the first deaths that I had witnessed close up. I was actually holding on to her when she passed, and so then all night we were doing the shall we dance, and her and I were doing the Yule Brenner thing, all night long. And so I was awake the whole night. I'm thinking, I am not going to be able to work the next day. I'm not going to be. I have to go to sleep. I have to go to sleep. But the next day I had perfect energy. It was like I had slept all night. It was the most bizarre thing ever. How they can give you that energy like that, because you would think after staying up all night, and I was in my 50s, so I should by all rights have been exhausted and not able to really work.
Wow. All right. Well, Mary, I have to run to the next person. I appreciate you being persistent and still trying to get on, and I wish you the best, and have a great rest of your weekend, and I hope I see you again.
I'm addicted to your channel. Keep up the good interviews. It's been my nightly entertainment. Thank you so much.
Oh, great. Thank you so much. All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All righty. So the next person is Abigail. And we'll see what's going on with Abigail tonight. I appreciate you. Oh, I hear me. And still trying to get on. And hello, Abigail.
Hey.
Great rest of your weekend, and I hope I see you. I need you to mute the YouTube video.
Okay, yeah, I just exited out of the YouTube completely.
Oh, okay. Well, you didn't have to do that. That's okay. I would just, if you want it on, that's fine too. I was just going to say, just turn down the volume of YouTube.
Okay, well, you're here, so there's no point in having.
You've got me live. On YouTube, we're in the past. So where are you from, Abigail?
So I am in Ventura, California.
Cool. Awesome.
Yeah. So the experience I had was when I was actually living in New York at the time. This was back in 2007 or even 6. And I was meditating a lot, and I've never told this story before. I don't know why I feel so nervous telling it, but I've always wanted to tell it.
Well, I'm glad you are.
So, yeah. So I was just laying down for a nap, and I all of a sudden, so I saw myself traveling on this like black screen, and my body was walking in like a magenta neon light color. Mm-hmm. And I was walking up to this guy that I had a big crush on at the time. So I guess I was feeling like missing him or loving him or whatever. And I could see him walking, and he had like, his head was like this bright yellow color, and I just saw the back of his body walking, and his body was like this dark blue color. And then I felt just my head moving, and there was a cord coming out of the bottom like back of it. Mm-hmm. And it was just my head, and I saw him walking, and I was coming up to him, and then I turned around to look at who it was that I was following, and then I saw his face, and then I gave him a hug, and then I felt this like overwhelming sense of bliss. And then I woke up because I was like, oh my God, what's going on? Like, what is that? Because I felt this like blissful, warm, fuzzy, like it was just amazing. And so I woke up, and then I was like, oh my gosh, like what just happened? And then, oh, my cat's running across the screen.
That's okay.
Sorry. Anyway, so I woke up, and then I fell, and then I went back to sleep, but it wasn't sleep. It was more like between being asleep and being awake. So it was like a trance state. And then I saw him again, and he just had this really confused look on his face. Like he could sense what I had just done in real time. I don't know. I think he was in Florida, and I was in New York at the time. Mm-hmm. So anyways, yeah, so that was a really interesting experience that I had. And I've always wanted to do it again, but nothing like that has really ever happened again. I mean, sometimes I'll go into like, I'll be able to see like future events happening, but not at will at all. It'll just come like really randomly as like a little video or just like a picture or something, but I've never been able to astral travel since then. And I've always wanted to again, and I've always looked up at how to try to do it. And I think just meditating daily like I was what caused me to be able to just spontaneously leave my body. And what was interesting was that I felt the cord, but then I also saw me on the astral plane coming in as this like magenta looking light.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was really strange that I was able to observe myself, like what I was doing, like just my body. I couldn't see my facial features or anything. It was just the shape of my body. And then I saw him and he came. So anyways, it was just a crazy experience. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah, it sounds like, I'm not an expert on any of this stuff, even though I listen to a lot of guests. I can't say I'm an expert, but it's either you had a lucid dream, but my initial impression is that you were out of your body and like you were, I don't know, somehow following him or something. Now the question is, were you following him?
I was definitely following him.
But were you following him?
I had to move. I could feel the cord out of the back of my head actually moving to turn around and look at the front of his face. And then I could see his face perfectly. I had to actually look at it for a second. And then I was like, oh my God, that's him. I had to like focus in for a second. Like at first I just saw a face, but then when I looked at it closer, it was just totally his face. So yeah. And then there have been other times where people's faces, I'll be able to see them. Like if I close my eyes and say someone's thinking about me really strongly, it'll come in as like a dark grayish light, but it'll be on like a black screen and I'll be able to see their face come in just so clearly. And it'll show up in different colors, but it's mostly like a gray color or like a pale yellow color.
Let me ask you this. When you were seeing him, do you think you were seeing him in the astral or seeing him on Earth and you were following him in the physical?
I was seeing him in real time. In the astral.
Okay. Did you ever call him afterwards and see if you?
You know what?
See if he noticed you.
I did, but he didn't call me back. This was a guy that I was in love with, and I acted needy and pushed him away. I was only like 19 at the time. I'm 34 now, so that's when this was. So yeah, no, I didn't talk to him again after that. No, unfortunately. But well, I looked him up, and it turned out he got convicted of. He had these doctors' offices, and he like two of the doctors were giving pain pills for cash.
Yeah.
And because he owned them, the doctors each only got a year in prison, but because he didn't take a plea deal, which would have been 2 years in prison, he got 20 years in prison.
Wow.
So that guy's going to be in prison for, I know, it's really sad. So he did, even though he just owned the pain clinic, because he didn't just plead guilty, so I wouldn't be able to be with him. Like, it was meant to be that I wasn't with him, but
right.
It was definitely like a strange experience. But like I said, I think that would have stuff like that would have happened more had I just continued meditating, because I was meditating like every day back then, because I was really getting into spirituality. And I'm from Utah. I grew up in Georgia, and then anyways, so moved to New York City. Now I'm in California. So
have you considered starting meditating again?
You know what? I did, and I do try, but every time I do, when I close my eyes, I get so angry about injustices that I feel. My dad kicking me out when I was only 18. My dad's an OBGYN in Georgia, and he was really Mormon, and I just couldn't go along with lying to the bishop to go to the temple and baptize dead people, which is what Mormons do. And because I couldn't go along with that, I was just completely ostracized by my dad. I got no financial help from him at all, my whole life. And my sisters did, because they were willing to be phony and, do the whole like spectacle of the Mormon thing. And I couldn't do that. So, anyways, so every time I tried to close my eyes and meditate, the anger would just overwhelm me. So I have anger issues to deal with. But yeah, I have tried to meditate. And that always, I guess that popped up later on in my life, because when I was in New York, I was really able to like get really deep into meditation, and it was really cool. But I would like to do that again for sure, because it's definitely one of those things where it takes time to tell you're doing it. But once you stop doing it and start again, you can definitely tell that it was something you were doing. So,
Right.
and it's really hard to do and it's not fun, you know, so, but I definitely want to start doing it again. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, even if not even meditating, what might help you do astral traveling is there's like, I think like I've never tried a guided meditation, but there's like guided meditations on YouTube. And I feel like I don't know if they're actually lucid dreams, but I have more strange dreams sometimes when I start listening to binaural beats music. And I think it's when you put on and I'll listen to it as I go to bed, and I think it's delta wave because there's different states of, you know, your mind. And when it's the delta wave is kind of the sleeping wave. So when I put it on delta wave, I get kind of crazier dreams. So that might be something.
I've tried binaural beats. For some reason, I need to hear talking to fall asleep. I know that's really strange. I turn it down really low and I play scriptures to go to sleep. That's been like the only way I can fall asleep, but I should try that delta thing. Yeah, for sure. Maybe I could try some kind of, I actually do want to try binaural beats while I meditate, because I feel like you have to be awake, very awake, in order to really meditate. If you start falling asleep, then you're not meditating anymore. So
right, that's true. All right, Amber. Well, thank you so much for coming and sharing with us.
Thank you for letting me share my story.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
you. Okay. And I will see you next time. You take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, don't report. Now, I wish I would know who is next, and I don't know who is next because it doesn't tell me who's next. So maybe I'll try Janet. And if I'm wrong, somebody forgive me. And then we'll go to Jolt. Jolt is our good friend from Brazil, by the way. We'll see what Jolt is up to. Ask to start video. I think I can hear Janet. I just can't see her yet.
Yes. Okay.
She hears me. There you are. All right. Hey, Janet, what's going on?
I just really don't have any makeup on. Oh, well.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I didn't see you last week, did I?
No, but I did listen to part as I was driving along. Yeah.
All right. So you're in Utah, right? Or Idaho?
I'm in Utah. I've lived in Idaho for a long time. I'm originally from Oregon, but
Oregon. Okay, yeah, because we were the last guest. We were just talking about Utah. So then I'm like, what a great transition from Utah to Utah.
Yeah, I feel her pain. I really do. So
what's new? What do you got new for us today?
So I was thinking today as I was on my walk of like what, as I saw, your thing came up, and I thought, gosh, it's just so good. And I thought, I don't have anything more to tell. I'll just listen. And then I thought, well, I'll get in line because was it last week or the week before you didn't have hardly anybody, and you're like, last call, is anybody getting on? We have 200 people.
Right.
So I thought I'd get on in case you didn't have somebody. But I do have something. I mean, I have lots and lots of small things, not the big deal of the shared death experience with my sweet daddy.
By the way, real quick, you said Caroline said you don't need makeup. You're beautiful, or something. She doesn't need makeup.
Thank you. Just a little eye is always good, just to define it. But thank you though. So and part of this, what I'm going to tell you, blends into my life between life, past life regression that I had that I didn't really want to talk about because I hadn't really processed it, and it was kind of an unconventional one. But also I started thinking that would be a good person for you to get on, was the guy who did my past life between life regression stuff. He trained with Dr. Michael Newton in his process, and he's like one of the main guys. And also he used to be a monk, a Buddhist monk, and he did that for a lot of years. Peter Elson is his name. I
don't know him. I'll write it down if I can.
It's it's the Dutch Peter, and he is Dutch. Pieter. Elson. I think it's just Elson, S-E-N. He wrote a book about past life regression and stuff, which is really good. And that's where I heard about it. But anyway, several years ago, about 3 years ago, I have a friend who's very artistic, Christine, and she's very artistic, and she would do these spirit painting things where you paid $25 and she gives you a little canvas and you go, and she usually gives you a tarot card, flips over for you, and there's usually a group of however many people show up, 4 or 5, and she provides the paint, and then you do a few minutes of a meditation beforehand, and then she paints a painting, and then you copy her painting or something similar to it, and it's fun, and we all kind of just try to channel artistic stuff. But in her meditation that she did, she said, okay, we did this little meditation, kind of got calm. And she said, think of what you would like to imbue your painting with, what kind of feeling or emotion or what. And then also she said, as we were in the meditation, to think of something like that. And so I was thinking what I would want, and I don't remember actually what I put. And then, because then you write it down on the canvas and then you paint on top of it. So it's literally part of the picture, but it's behind it. And then in the meditation, and this was just a brief meditation before we started, she said, call in someone to help you paint if you feel like you need the help.
Okay.
And so I was thinking, and I said, oh, and in my mind, I was thinking, okay, I'll call Leonardo. Okay. No, not Leonardo. Michelangelo.
Okay.
Michelangelo. And I said, okay, Michelangelo. And then I heard in my head, because I said, oh, Michelangelo Buonarroti, which is, the Michelangelo, right? And I heard in my head, non Buonarroti, with this really thick Italian accent. And I used to speak Italian fluently, and I spent some time there. I said, non Buonarroti, Caravaggio. And I'm just in this meditation going, Michelangelo Caravaggio. And I'm like, who the hell is Michelangelo Caravaggio? And I went, okay. I didn't know, I had never in my life ever remember hearing Caravaggio. I thought, that is just so weird. So I'm like, okay. So the meditation ends and we start, and I write down Michelangelo Caravaggio on my painting, and I look it up on my phone. He's a really famous painter.
Wow.
I have never, I have been, grant you, to the big one in Amsterdam, I can't think of the name of it, where there's lots of paintings. I don't remember seeing any of his. Okay, so I mean, it's just not a name that I would have thought of. So I thought about that for a long time, because I heard his voice so intrusively and so clearly in my head. And I have oftentimes, that's right, I did tell you guys about the one where I heard, it was on this side, pedophile, and I turned. Yeah. Okay. Well, I have heard things like that before.
One second, what's amazing is you've never heard of this guy before. You didn't know the name to pull it from memory.
No, I mean, it's possible that, but it's not something, if ever anybody said, name all the famous Michelangelos, and I would have said, is there more than one? I mean, I had no idea. So, and that kind of, there was an oddity about it. It was so intrusive and so like in my head that I thought, wow, who is this? So I did a little more research, and in a lot of his paintings, this was days later, and that painting is one of the best paintings I've ever painted, because I'm like a stick figure painter. I don't do paint. Okay, so that's an interesting point. And I looked him up, and in most of the paintings, so he does a dark background with a lot of really accurate, or it's not impressionistic, it's real life kind of. I don't even know how to paint. I don't know anything about painting. The kind of painting is very real life, fruit and different things. And he often has a young boy. He starts younger, and then later on he's older and older. And it's the same pictures, same young man throughout there. And I just started looking at that, and I really kind of contemplating it. Thought, why? What's this connection I have? So, and I started to wonder if maybe, as I started to contemplate past life regressions, if I weren't him.
Whoa.
If I wasn't him, was I Michelangelo Caravaggio in another life? So fast forward all these years, and just a couple of months ago, I did a past life regression, between life regression, and that came up. And in my past life regression, and all of this stuff about him and that boy, and why is it that I cannot in this life with this brain and body? I mean, I do a little pottery and I can weave a couple things, but it has to be like really hands-on stuff. I cannot turn 2-dimensional to 3-dimensional. I mean, I can't draw. I cannot, I mean, it's stick figures. It's like there's a wall there. And it's always been that way. And I've always felt like I should be able to get around the wall and know how to do this, but I've never been able to. I can almost feel it there. And in the past life regression, yes. So you give them a list of questions, and you have to understand, I was so deep under in this past life regression. They call it some somnambulistic. I don't even know. It's something you're like when you are really, really under. And ask, was I him? And I said, and yes was the answer, that I was him, and that because of the life that I led, and Caravaggio died when he was like 35 or something. He was young. He lived a really kind of a tormented, raucous, decadent kind of life. And although it doesn't say anything about this in the stuff that I read about him, what I understood through that past life regression is that the reason in this life I wasn't allowed to go back into those talents and things that I know how to do, I have done, or whoever has done, my higher self has done in another incarnation, is that he purchased that boy as a slave, and he abused him, and he was mean to him, and whatever else he did to him. And that later in life, he had power over Caravaggio. Now, this is all that I learned this because Caravaggio was really ill and a drunkard, and had problems. And that this young man, who was then in his young 20s, had a lot of power over him, but actually cared for him, even though he was terribly abused by his master. Anyway, and that I felt so guilty about that life, but that's why in this life, I don't have any abilities to paint whatsoever.
Wow. So that's the weird thing that I learned in that past life regression, and how this all connected. And I just didn't know whether it's all true or not, or made up. I don't know, but I just don't know where I would have come up with that stuff. I don't know. Well, I mentioned this guy, my very first past life regressionist from about a year ago, and we were talking about why people, for example, I think why people have issues with being successful with this life. And how that relates to a past life is they were successful and somehow they've got killed by it. Like they were a famous so-and-so and someone robbed them and killed them, or they were successful at something and someone jealous did them in. So in this life, they do not do any of that. They have some kind of subconscious not to be famous, not to be successful, because they don't want to wind up like that before. So maybe it's possible you don't want to have any art success because you don't want to get rich and famous and live that decadent lifestyle and all that stuff again.
Well, and that's what came out, is that this life is supposed to be a heart-centered life. And not be about being famous or being passionate about my artwork, or passionate about, because I was also in another life, a very keen mathematician, close to Pythagoras and all of that. But I was caught up in that. But those were highly passionate focused lives, and they weren't about the heart. They weren't about, and this life is to be a heart-centered life. But that if those, see how it was expressed, that if any of those come back into this life, it will have to be through an expression of the heart, through heart wisdom, not to be completely absorbed by the passion of painting, which I was, and or through mathematics and left brain. And so it was really interesting, and it made a lot of sense. I've always felt math, wall, painting, wall, I mean, complete wall. Yeah. So.
Well, I've got to run, Janet. Thank you for sharing that. And before I go, maybe you can try painting spiritual stuff, and that will work for you.
I don't know. I paint glaze on pottery now. And however it shows up after it comes out of the 2000 degree kiln is how it shows up. Yeah. But anyway, thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it.
Thank you. You take care.
Okay,
take
thanks.
care. All right. Don't report. Now our friend Jolt, our good friend from Brazil. We'll see what's up with Jolt. Let's see if he can get in today. Ask to start video. Hey, brother, how are you? Oh, he can't hear me yet. His audio is not on. I'm connecting to audio.
You hear me?
Hello, my friend. How are you today, Jolt?
Fine. And you?
Good, thank you. What's going on in Brazil today?
Well, Brazil, I don't know. I know where I am.
You're not in Brazil today?
Huh?
I thought you're in Rio.
Yeah, I'm in Rio. It's cool.
It's good.
It's a bit rainy.
A bit rainy. Summer is coming for you.
Yeah, summer is coming.
It's
rainy, but it's getting hot.
It's getting hot.
Yeah.
So I didn't think we get to talk about it last time, but there was something spiritual experience you wanted to tell me about.
Yeah. The first meeting we had, I told about the experience I had in a show it was a band called Return to Forever.
Right.
This was in 75. So I told something, but it's something I forgot to tell when this happened. One of the things I was telling the meeting I had with the band and like this light ball came in with this loving light ball like that called God came, and it was like together. It was one field, like the band, God, and me, and the surroundings. And when this happened, I felt like it was a appointment I had. So when this meeting happened, it was like I had this feeling that it was like an appointment. And I told that the main conversation with the bass player is called Stanley Clark, and he was in front of me. And one thing I remember, it's like we had a telepathical conversation, and one time he was saying like about a kind of spiritual fight that was ahead.
A spiritual fight?
Huh?
Did you say you had a spiritual fight?
No, we were speaking in a telepathical way about this, and he was telling about this, and when he told about this, he made the gesture of the fight of boxing, and one thing was very strong. It was like time stopped. It was no more time. You know, it was the feeling of forever, and timelessness was one thing. You know, and it was I had it was like pure joy. You know, it was something very very joyful. You know, I was just feeling like a explosion of joy. And and one of the topic of the conversation was like life is a game. And one thing, one interesting thing, like 1 year after, this was in 75, in 76, he released a solo album. And one of the songs of the album is Life is Just a Game.
Ah, that's great. Do you believe that life is a game? Do you believe that personally?
Yeah, I'm sure it's a divine game.
A divine
it's a
game.
Yeah.
How do you think that you win the game?
I think we win it anyway. Even when we lose, we are on the way to win it.
So as long as you're here on Earth, you're automatically a winner.
In any place in the universe, I think it's an eternal game. You know, it's like God's playing with Himself. You know, and we all aspects and God, we all God, but it's let's say it's one part of God that's conscious of this game, and some other parts that ain't conscious of this game. But anyway, it's the same thing.
I want to know, let me ask you a question about your background. Since you're in Brazil, are you a Catholic or would you consider yourself a spiritual person?
Well, I'm a spiritual person. I was raised in a Catholic family, but very early, I didn't took it really seriously. You know, it was a good part of the time I was with my grandparents, and my grandma was very Catholic. You know, it was like we had Sundays, like it was a lot of prayer and this kind of stuff. For me, it was a bit boring, you know, and and I don't know, around the age of 9, like this, I started to in my mind to drop out of this, you know.
Yeah.
So and when this experience happened, I was in my teens. I was like, I think, something like between 15 and 16, something like this. And at that time, I wasn't thinking too much about this. My thing in life was to live the more intensely and just to live full speed, you know. And but I was thinking maybe it's God, maybe it's not God, but I wasn't worrying about this. But when this happened, I really, it was like like I told, it was like an appointment I had with God, and I remember,
Yeah, that's great. So do you have any predictions for the future?
Yeah.
What do you have? What do you have as far as predictions of the future?
Well, for this, it's a bit more story to tell. So because this happened when this happened, it was on an acid trip, but it was more further than in this time. It was in the 70s, you know. So between 73, 74, I was taking a lot of acid. It was a common thing, but this day it went much further than anything that happened till then. So like a few months later, I took another trip. I was with my girlfriend, and we was like on a little square, and we was like on a open bar on a square, and we had a telepathic conversation.
Wow.
And we was just looking to each other, and we had a telepathic conversation. And close to us, it was some people playing with the ball. And just a second. And so the topic of the life was a game came back.
Mm-hmm.
So we had this conversation, and I was saying, well, it's life is a game, and the feeling was really good. And like on the trip, it's like you had a lot of lights and a lot of things. It's not really hallucination. You don't see things, but it's like you see everything is very luminous. It's a lot of lights and colors, but at the same time you see the things the way they are. You know, it's just like it's let's say it's like you go from something like in a 3D perception to 4th or 5D. I don't know how to call this, but it's the perception is like it gets deeper. You see like not just the things, but you see what's in the space between things.
Right.
And the telepathic conversation is something that's part of this too. It's like the space is getting real and it's getting alive.
Mm-hmm.
So we get to the point when we're saying like life is a game, you know. And at this point I asked, but if life is a game, why all this suffering, what's happening in the world has to happen? What's about this suffering?
Yeah.
So at that point, I don't know what we like. Something happened, like we hug each other, and through her came an entity that was like at that moment I didn't know what entity was, but it has a strange thing, and beside the thing that I was saying, like life is just a game, I was saying that God is everything. So this entity said, like, if God is everything, I'm God too. So I said yes. At this point, this entity get into me, and it was like I don't know. It was like very bad thing, you know. It was very at this moment, like all the lights, what was in the space, shut off. Everything was still in place, like the things, the material things was there, but the light, it was no more light, because everything get very dark, and a feeling of heavy suffering. And it just intensified, and it was a moment I was just couldn't stand this no more, and one thing was start to happen inside me. It was like I was really feeling like getting through some kind of hell, you know. Yeah. And it was and this was happening like I was going between, something was getting very, very red and hot, and from this I was like exploding and going into a yellow thing, like I was like ripped apart and getting in the blue when I was freezing, and I was like going in circles in this three colors and it's three different kind of suffering.
Yeah.
And it had a feeling of really being forever in this thing. And so I started to run. So I started to run. And at the moment, the thing was so bad, and I just jumped into a wall. Like trying to knock me out, you know. It was a very, I wasn't thinking, you know. It just happened, you know.
Yeah.
And when I get after I get up, I just look at my thing, and I had a feeling that everything, all the this feeling of the matrix, you know, like everything is a kind of lie, you know. And I looked at my clothes, I was thinking it's like a lie. So I just took out of my clothes and started to run naked in the street.
Wow. This is you, and this is when you got back when you came back?
No, I was still on.
Oh, you were still in the trip and you were doing that.
On this hellish process, you know. I was really in deep pain, and it was physical, spiritual, and mental. It was a total pain, and a really intense pain. You know, it was really. It's like, I don't know. To give an example, you try to feel the pain what's in this moment in the earth. It's a lot of people getting through some very pain. So you just like feel all this pain what's going on.
Right.
So I was just feeling I had all this pain inside of me, you know. So I was running naked like this, and one moment I get over a bridge, and the bridge was high, and it was a river down the bridge, and I just jumped over the bridge, but I didn't fall. This moment it was like a mystery, you know. When I ran over, I saw the river down, but I blacked out.
You blacked out.
I blacked out.
All right, well, I got to stop you there, Joel, because I got to go on to the next person. But maybe we can continue next time. You got to remind me next time that you were running naked through the streets. You saw the river. You jumped from the bridge, and then you blacked out.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for joining us, bud. I really appreciate you. Hope things are well in Brazil.
Yeah. I just like to play a little thing on an instrument I did. I don't know if you see it. It's a kalimba.
Oh, wow. I've never seen one of those. I mean, I've seen that before. Yeah. Is this your own music that you created?
Yeah. The instrument, I did it too.
Okay. Yeah. My guest left. Maybe he'll be right back. So maybe you can play us something real quick.
No, just a quick few seconds.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. It almost kind of sounds like marimbas.
Yeah, it's a percussion. It's the same family.
That's cool. Thanks for sharing that with us.
Say bye-bye.
Hi, brother. Take care.
Okay, you too. Thanks.
All right. So don't report. And I had someone there. I think it was John Scott, because I recognize him, but he did not. Maybe it bounced him out, because sometimes it bounces people out. So let me catch up with the chat here. And while I got the chat going, I can give a few announcements. One is 2 weeks from now is the Halloween stream. I think that's John. He's back, if that is him, because I remember this Huawei Y9. And two, I've got some podcasts that I've already recorded, and two of them are guests that are Hindus or were Hindus, and you guys have been wanting stuff that's non-Christian or non-Americans. So I've got a couple Indian guests coming soon. And there he is. Can you hear me?
Jeff,
you can hear me. You're not on that. You're not on that spaceship that you shipped me that video of.
Did you watch it?
Yes, I did. Yeah, John sent me some video today. I guess I got it this morning. I don't know when it was for him, but it showed his neighbors. From what I understood, your neighbors took video, and you just took pictures of the UFOs with your camera.
Yeah,
is that
that's correct. Yeah, Dean was my neighbor, and I was in my studio. I don't know what I was doing. It was at night, and I was out the back probably doing some music or something like that. And next thing I get a call that the neighbors have spotted these glowing lights in the sky. So I thought, oh, pity. So I knew that something was going to happen, because I'd been doing meditations and calling in those demons, as some people call them. So I grabbed my camera and I also started filming. I got a Canon 7D, which has
That's a nice
film
camera.
capability as well. Yeah, it's a good camera, good digital. And I filmed it and took some stills. But when I uploaded it, I noticed that there's something about the light just wasn't right, because in the 7D, you can't actually adjust the aperture to let more light in. It's just straight filming. Maybe it's just me and I can't use it properly. I don't know. So I ended up getting Dean's phone footage, and luckily that was really good quality. It was just off an iPhone or whatever, and I thought, wow, this is really cool. And
let me ask you this, because I was talking about this earlier, and I don't know if you were here, but one of my guests saw a UFO, and he had a green astronomy laser. Do you know what those are?
Oh, I've heard of them. Yeah.
You know, like your regular laser pointer, like your teachers use. You see the red dot on the wall, but that's it. Where the green one is stronger, and you can actually see the beam, like Star Wars. And people use them to point out stars in astrology. Well, he was a guy out in West Texas that would see UFOs, and he decided to just shine it on the UFO when he would see them out there, and they paid him a visit for that.
Well, I've no idea why people shine lasers, a physical laser, because they work on this.
Right.
Like they kind of know telepathically. And I've found over the years, like I know quite a lot of people who are still in contact or have had experiences, and it just gets deeper and deeper. The rabbit hole goes quite deep on this subject. But they tend to latch onto you, and you'll have repetitive experiences throughout your life. Now, some people think that they are demonic. Well, if they were demons, and they've been here millions of years and we have no hope.
Yeah.
If they're here to help us, then obviously they punctuate it in between our spirituality. So our spirituality seems more important, and they seem to come at strategic points when we're ready to just tweak our spirituality and get us to remember the bigger picture, because they're part of this picture too. On so many levels. They've been here since the beginning, and possibly before. As I said, when I wrote in my book, I know that this is going to it really upsets people but I was shown what I was shown. I can't make this crap up, and we are genetically intermeshed with all species across the universe. We are extraterrestrial. I mean, people say this is garbage, but look, we've got billions, if not trillions, of different species of life right here on this planet. Yeah. Insects, animals, mammals, you name it. They're all different. They all have life in them. So what's to say that the boundary ends at Earth? No, there's life throughout the whole universe.
Well, you said it's
staggering.
You said at the beginning that you had been meditating. Do you think you brought those aliens in?
Well, yes and no, Jeff. Look, during my NDE, the first question I asked, because I was an atheist and I didn't fully understand what was going on in the experience. Like I had no concept of death because I wasn't dead. So of course I telepathically asked some of the biggest questions. And Penny, you had Penny on the other night. I looked at her experience. She said something that really made me quite emotional.
What was that?
And well, I'll zoom in on. Well, a couple of times I was actually in tears listening. She's had a genuine experience because it triggered me. And one of them was that she said she felt like the questions. Well, she's telling the truth. The questions are kind of answered as soon as you think of them. The light is already answering them for you. And she said, and I thought the same thing, that were these questions pre-programmed in prior to our incarnation? I've pondered that myself. Why would I even ask about the pyramids? Because I wasn't interested in the pyramids. Not one iota, not one iota. And that popped into my head whilst I'm in front of the light. And it said, direct telepathically that it was used for certain people with gifts to communicate with entities right throughout the universe. You don't forget this stuff. It just goes straight into your soul. And it's like it's ever present. So years later, you anchor those questions and you bring them into, well, hell, if they're out there, why can't we see them? So I started to, and I got a whole series of downloads when I started to think that, almost like another injection of etheric thought forms. And in those downloads, I actually got patterns, and I what I did is they came straight through, and these patterns I built with crystals. They were like gates or portals. Are these patterns evil? No, they were our constellations, but it was the way they were constructed. So I constructed them in crystalline format using quartz crystal and smoky quartz crystal, like how I was guided. And then within a week, I found, you'll see in that video right at the end, and you can share that video. I should actually put it on public again. Right. But there was a little red ring. Do you remember seeing that little red ring right at the end, the plastic ring? I
didn't get all the way through. I was looking at your pictures and wondering about your pictures, because your pictures aren't just like circles of light like you see from his video pushes. Your pictures were kind of like shaky light, and all three of them are like these little images, and I was wondering about those, about why they weren't solid lights.
That blew me out as well, because when I was looking at them, they just looked spherical. Now, when I zoomed in and then I checked them, once I uploaded them, I've gone, it's like a laser light moving around, right? Or something's moving really quickly. Now, I thought it was camera shake. And so I thought, that's the first thing. I think, well, maybe when I took the shot, I was a little bit, moving, which is normal because you can see the background stars that have moved. But then I thought, okay, no, I'll get each light and I'll put them into Photoshop and compare the body of the light of each one, the three lights, and they were all different. You can see it, they were all different. So the body was different. So they would, if it was camera shake, they'd be exactly the same, but they're different.
Well, also from what I've seen of Bob Lazar, I don't know if you know who Bob Lazar is, the guy that allegedly worked at Area 51, and the way he described the propulsion system of the anti-gravity. It kind of sounds like that they would be shaky like that.
My gut feeling, I haven't, I don't talk to ETs and ask them about their propulsion system, but from Bob's video, he talks about they can create their own gravitational field around them, which is, I would say, is necessary to pass through what I'd call wormholes in space. And I would say these ETs have already mapped the quantum field. We're only just discovering it, and they've already got it mapped.
Of course, yeah.
Right. So they obviously know when portals are maximum, when they're open, possibly when there's less gravitational force. Who knows? I mean, this is really conjecture. This is science fiction stuff, really. They can seem to.
I was going to say, what made me think about your meditation is the CE5 groups that go out. I don't know if you know those Stephen Greer kind of groups.
I've since heard of them.
That they get together, and they'll get together at a point, they'll meditate, trying to connect to the ETs psychically to let them know where they're at, and then they show up, which is kind of like what you were saying, maybe your meditation.
Correct. I would say hypothetically, Greer's probably been chipped. He probably doesn't even know it. He should go and get an MRI, full magnetic resonance imaging, and see if he's got something inside him. Most people who are on the cutting edge of this field are either chipped or have, they're being watched by upstairs and by agencies down here, because it's the most cutting edge information. The intelligence agencies don't know what's going on. Anybody who has the full picture, I'd say, well, it's purely conjecture. But I would say we're going through, this is hypothetical, mind you, I haven't been told this. I would say we're going through an evolutionary phase, meaning humanity is about to make the biggest leap possibly since Neanderthal man or caveman to Homo sapiens. Now, if there's people who may have implants, their telepathy is increasing. Okay, it doesn't go all the time, but their telepathy, I've heard this through very close contacts, that they're getting a lot of telepathy from sources that they can't explain. Okay, does it interfere with their daily life? No. Does it help them navigate through difficult times? Yes. Like intuitively, they just know where to go, what to do, and such. So my theory, look, this again, it's hypothetical because no one really knows absolutely what's going on. They definitely came to help. We've been stuck in some sort of a paradigm for a long time. We're almost like we're still stuck in that ape circuit, warring with each other. You know, all the negative attributes, the lower animal traits. So I'm thinking they're about to accelerate that, where the animals will just implode and disappear because they're not capable of going where we're meant to be going through this evolutionary phase. A lot of people are talking about, I got a close friend, she's had fetuses stolen at 3 months.
Wow.
Or removed, stolen. I don't like the word stolen, removed. Now, she's seen her hybrid children on craft, and I don't doubt her for 1 minute because she's really gets a lot of good stuff. Where those children are going, who knows? I mean, could they be building a new race that looks similar to us, slightly different, to be implanted back on Earth in 100 or 200 years' time, when we're psychologically and spiritually ready to receive them? They will be the new Homo sapien alien, you know, whatever you want to call it. Because we're not doing much good down here, to be honest. You've got to look at what's happening with the planet. We're ruining it. We've stuffed it completely. So something's got a problem. It's either Earth's got the problem or we're the problem. Why aren't we in balance? Why are every other animal comes into balance except humans? So that proves we are not of this world. We have not evolved to a point where we've come into balance. Yes, some species have, like Native Americans were much more animist, but you know, a lot of their beliefs were wiped out, you know, because it was considered primitive or pagan. You know, we're getting into other areas of you know, belief systems here. And Christians really should know better than attack pagan ideologies, because their mythology, their Genesis mythology says God created the heavens and the earth first, and the trees, then the insects, then the animals, and guess who they made last? Humans. So we weren't that important, really. We were not that important in the bigger picture of creation mythology. You know, I have a different view of the creation because I saw it in my NDE, but that's another, you know, another conversation.
Do you believe that there are that stories in the Bible are NDEs, like the story of John the Baptist, and maybe even Christ's resurrection is an NDE?
No, I don't, because a lot of people, you know, I don't like to get into arguments about it, but I think the deeper teaching of the Christian resurrection story, and believe me, Christianity is not the only religion that has resurrection stories. You know, Jainism and you know, other religions, earlier religions, you know, Ahura Mazda, you know, they all had resurrection stories. Quetzalcoatl, you know, of these gods coming back and a resurgence of the gods coming back. You know, that's just another mythological take on the same resurrection story. So yes, you have an individual who's an enlightened being, but then how he comes back in the resurrection story is in a different what could you say? A different form. And I would say that it's more of a consciousness, spiritual form, but not physical. And so people are seeing it happen. They're going, oh, I'm having all these amazing experiences. And some people are seeing Jesus in their NDEs. I think that's fantastic for them. But they could have been presupposed or predispositioned towards Christianity in the first place. I was an atheist. I did not see Jesus, but it doesn't mean to say I don't believe in what he represents. So you have to say, what does he represent? Okay. So if it's love, then okay, then what's the difference between the love coming from Buddha or the love coming from, you know, other deities or Wakantanka? Why is Jesus' love, you know, more important than everyone else's love? No, it's love. And there's no doubt in my mind that love is love, because I experienced it when I went across, and it was just unbelievable, phenomenal. You just can't comprehend it, because we've got filters, our physical body, our mental constructs, emotional constructs. These are all filters. But when you're unfiltered, that's what Penny said the other day, made me cry. I thought, you can't hide anything when you cross over.
Yeah.
it's more than naked. You know, there's no word to describe it.
Yeah, it's interesting. She said that. I was.
Yep. That triggered that again, another trigger. I thought, beautiful, beautiful account, beautiful account, beautiful. So I thought, wow, she's been there, because it's like the light can see everything, absolutely every nuance. And so there's no shame. There's no shame, because the love's so powerful that overwhelms any shame or guilt and all that stuff. Guilt is a human emotion. Guilt is being used in a mind control to keep you guilty as a sinner. No, we have the potential to be divine being. Anyone who blocks you from bringing out your true potential and your true love, they're working for the dark side. Man controlling man. I work for the light directly. I don't listen to any human being on the planet. If I get a dream, I listen to it, because that's upstairs telling me what to do, what's coming. It's like a radar. You can see it coming years away, sometimes decades. And you know, once you've been there, it's like you've got this permanent leg rope. I call it a permanent leg rope in the surf. You never lose your surfboard, you know, and it doesn't matter which wave hits, I'm going to be riding it, you know. It's like, it's okay. Sometimes you get doubt, you know, that's normal.
You know, your painting behind you is distracting me. I want to see that. Can you bring it closer? I like the color. No, the blue one, that one. What is that?
Look,
Show that to us.
Well, I got a vision about this one, okay? And can you see that? It's probably not, the light's not the best. I'm really struggling with it. It's a silly little beast, but I got a vision about the Buddha's footprints. Okay, there's a beautiful story about when the Buddha walks through the jungle, and everywhere he walks, lotuses started to come up. And I really pondered that, and I thought, wow, I wonder what that actually means, leaving lotuses behind in his footprints. But you got a similar narrative with Jesus walking on the waters. And so once you contextualize these two separate mythologies, they actually mean the same thing in essence, that these beings are above, in another realm, in another form of consciousness. So as they walk, a footstep is a metaphor for leaving behind signals. I think the Native Americans say, when you walk on the land, wear your moccasins and you know, tread lightly. So, but they leave these beautiful historical messages for people of beauty and stories and things to help humanity. I thought, so I'm trying to work out, it's a transitional painting, Jeff, of leaving ripples, because the idea was that when you drop a droplet of water, say in a pond, the ripples go out. And I thought, well, this is not a new concept. Ancient Egyptians talked about ripples, and you see the little double zigzags on the walls.
Yeah.
In Egypt, that's the ripples. And sometimes they have 3 ripples, but they're talking about ripples of mind, ripples of consciousness, because we are the waters. You know, gets into another deeper narrative about baptism and the concept of water as consciousness and air as consciousness, and it gets into a metaphysical dialogue. And so I'm trying to sort of physically get this whole, and it's a very scary painting. I'll probably ruin it, you know, but that's okay. I can paint over it.
I like the colors of blues. I have a guest that I interviewed. I haven't posted yet. I'm going to post it in a few days. She is a Hindu woman that's had OBEs, and she's seen Hindu gods, but also during one of her OBEs, and I can't remember because I haven't edited it yet, she saw archangels.
What, so Western archangels? Like,
yes.
Or Eastern archangels?
Well, you know, like, I don't know if it was Michael or Gabriel or whoever, but it's interesting for a Hindu woman to see archangels.
Well, that's weird, because when I was doing yoga quite a few years back, I actually got a vision of Shiva, and then the following week I got that elephant-headed one, Ganesh. And I thought, I said to the instructor, who was actually a monk for 8 years, and I said, you know, look, I got a vision with that person and that one. I said, what is that? I've never seen it before. And he goes, don't worry about it. You know, typical monk, you know, don't get hooked on it. But it's beautiful that you do get cross, I would say, the archetypal energetic forms that anthropomorphize. And of course, they differ in each country and each religion.
Mm-hmm.
But when you dig a bit deeper, they have the same attributes, exactly the same attributes. They're an energetic attribute of your subconscious mind. And so, of course, when people have NDEs, they might go to that level of their subconscious mind and think that that is the end, or that is where the destination is. No, it's infinite. We can't comprehend infinite. And you have to be in the spiritual form to actually get a glimpse of the infinite. And that's why so many people come back and say, I saw it, but I can't retain it. It was, and Penny said the same thing. A lot of people do say the same thing. I'm probably a rare case, but I did see a lot, and a lot came out.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't remember it initially. I certainly remembered the experience and certain parts of it. But then 15, 20 years later, it just unraveled. And so, of course, I, ended up writing my book and talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't talk about it.
Sorry to interrupt you, but I've got someone in the chat. Mary Polly wants to know if you sell your paintings.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Mary Polly, is it Polly?
Yes. I think she was on earlier.
Yeah, you can visit my website, which is www.johnscottartist.com. I'm also represented by galleries in Sydney and Melbourne in Australia. I was recently invited to Italy. I get invited to New York and Italy and places like that, but the logistics of getting artwork overseas at the moment is just a nightmare, as you know, with COVID and stuff. And then you got to strip the canvases down, send them over, get them framed, restretch them. It's like the cost is phenomenal. And artists are getting hammered. They're the gig economy, and I'm not getting any money from the government. So it's like I really, I'm okay with it. Trust me, I'm not complaining, Jeff.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I do sell my works. But things have been slow with everyone.
Yeah, well, with the whole economy now.
Yeah.
When I was talking to this woman, by the way, Dr. Garg is her name, I believe. We were talking about the Vedas. I believe it was the Vedas, those ancient text manuscripts. And she said that they came from outer space. I believe she said they were from the rishis brought us to them. But that information came from outer space.
Look, I wouldn't be surprised. I've read quite a few Vedas. I've read the Upanishads as well. They have a power in the simplicity of them. There's complexity, as you know, within simplicity. When you start to get, it's almost like metaphysical poetry, and the concepts can have multiple meanings once you start to get into things like the Vedas. And, there's a surface text, like a parable. A parable is a surface text. They talk about, separation of goats and sheep, or finding a pearl in a field. Well, but there's other deeper contexts to those parables, much like the Vedas. I'm trying to think, I read recently, a couple of years ago when I was doing yoga, someone handed me a book. I can't even remember the name of it, but I earmarked it, and I discussed it with the monk who was the head of the ashram. And these kinds of texts are you have to meditate on them. And a lot of people don't like the concept of meditation because they think, that's their bag. But meditation's essential to open up and expand your consciousness. I mean, what you're expanding into is none other than God. You're expanding. God is the most expansive meditation there is. So why anyone would say meditation is no good is, well, you've got to go careful with meditation. Yes, I agree. But when you expand it a little bit more, like your precursor reading a scripture with meditation, then you read the scripture, and you'll find you'll read the same scripture and you'll get two different meanings on 2 different days. Yeah. You say, I didn't see that before. It's always been there. But that's the nature of the whole concept of scripture. And by the way, script, here's another little snippet that I'll throw your way. In India, they call them sutras.
Yeah.
Okay, you've got sutras. But those sutras became sutures, which is connected to a medical term, right, where they stitch up a cut. Now, in the ancient days, if you cut your arm or you got a gash in your arm, the doctor, who was considered like a metaphysician as well, they weren't just doctors, right? What they would do is they would sew up an incantation in cursive stitching. So they'd say, you know, Ra will heal you and blah, 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 but they do it in cursive. Where have we heard cursive writing? This is when a doctor writes a script in unbroken letters. Your script is always written in running writing. And no one knows why. It's because they were magical incantations. So you would look at your arm and the magical incantation of, you know, the healing god of whatever would come and heal your arm. The average person didn't know about your own immune system, but the doctor did, the metaphysician, you know, the high priest did. So, and he even called it cursive writing. You were putting a curse to get rid of the evil that cut you, because they saw everything as you were attacked by a demon, hence you got a cut. Now this is carried over into our, you know, into sutras and sutures and cursive writing and script. So it's all about what we write. There's a whole metaphysical occult background to writing it, right? And language. And a lot of people have no idea what's going on, you know? That goes to the legal system, the medical system, judicial system, and our royal system. They all have these little rituals that they do. We live in a magical world, Jeff. So, of course, that's why they stitch your arm up with an unbroken piece of thread, right?
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. That's pretty cool.
Very interesting.
I'm glad you put that together. 1 second. Ken Tan, thank you so much for the super thanks for the donation, and I really appreciate that, and I hope all is well in Singapore. It's my first person from Singapore.
Yoo-hoo.
I was explaining the other day about, my family and I, we were talking about left-handedness, and, you know, the Latin word for left is sinistro.
Okay.
And, you know, and so, you know, why forever as left-handed being bad, and, you know, the connection between sinistro and sinister.
Well, you've got to go back to your Bible again, because who sits on the right-hand side of God?
I guess that's John the Baptist.
Jesus.
Oh, on the God. I'm sorry. I thought you were thinking, I was thinking of something else.
All right. So obviously they've demonized the left hand, but again, this goes back to the tree of life, where you have a right pillar and a left pillar, and one pillar is a pillar of mildness and the other pillar is the pillar of extreme. And so there's a big study to do in Kabbalah, or the tree of life, with that. So of course, you know, that's a very deep narrative in and of itself. So the poor old left-handers, I mean, I think Aleister Crowley took the left-hand path, didn't he? Which a lot of people, you know, toed as being, you know, somehow more superior or whatever. But no, you got to keep away from the extremes of too much right wing or too much left wing, because they both overlap at one point, where extreme capitalism becomes communism and vice versa. And so this is when you get into, you know, concepts of ideologies and beliefs and philosophies. But, you know, if you push them too extreme, you end up in the territory that you were trying to get away from, and you end up mirroring it. So you got to go that middle way, the non-sinistro path, you know.
I'm going to say two things, and I want to say something. I'm going to ask you a question. By the way, I don't have anybody else in line. I want somebody else in line, but I'm just holding John here until somebody shows up. So that way I won't be by myself. I'm keeping you here. Anyways.
You want to ask why the UFOs were in symbols, and I'm just going to jolt your memory there.
Say that again?
Not the Brazilian jolt. I'm not going to give you the Brazilian memory jolt. No. You asked me the other day, why do I think the craft formed symbols or shapes? I don't know, Jeff. That's one question. Maybe because our archetypes think in symbols. Dreams are symbolic. Geometric shapes. I definitely know one of the shapes look like the Orion constellation, but that's just me making a very loose connection. It may or may not have been. So, but,
do you think that's a real thing, that the three pyramids are in the Orion constellation and there's a real connection?
Yes, I do.
You do.
But I think the people who built the other two pyramids, because you've got Khufu, which they're all misnamed. The original pyramid was never named Khufu. That much I know. Didn't have a name because it was never attributed to one pharaoh. Okay. The original one was an initiation chamber. That's what I was shown. The latter two were built a long time after, but with knowledge of, very deep knowledge of the astrotheological system, which was, Egypt was very heavily into astrotheology, as above, so below. So that the three stars in Orion's belt are Al-Nitak, Al-Nilam and Mintaka respectively. So you've got the large Khufu's pyramid is Al-Nitak. The second one, which is almost, it's even slightly higher, I think, from memory, but the angles of the walls are different. That's Al-Nilam. And the third one, Mintaka, is the small pyramid. But I think, I know, I was shown they were built afterwards because that represented Osiris. In the Egyptian mythology, Al-Nitak, or the Great Pyramid, was aligned to Osiris, and Sirius, the star Sirius, which was the feminine counterpart of Isis. But the upper chambers in the king's chamber, quote unquote, they already had the alignments. They didn't need to build them externally of the internal chambers. So the other pyramids are actually faulty. They don't do anything. They're actually non-functional. So you can see, once you start to, people keep trying to twist this around, saying that somehow all the older pyramids, which are further south down towards the Aswan Dam, that they were all built earlier because they've decayed. Let's flip this 180 degrees and say, no, maybe the Great Pyramid was the first and the rest of them they built have decayed because they didn't have the same building technology, and that starts to make more sense. And that also aligns with the fall of consciousness and the fall away from an ancient, perfect system that we had, a perfect world. And we've decayed that far. I mean, I could go on about the Great Pyramid for literally yonks. How it was surrounded by seawater. And the seawater has fallen 60 meters from the doorway height to a shaft nearby in Giza Plateau, where there's salt water at 40 meters below the Giza Plateau level, salt water. Now, the Nile's freshwater. Where's this salt water coming from? So the Great Pyramid, has the doorway at 17.5 meters, where you can prove, and I wrote to Michael Tellinger about this, and it's in my book, I'll give it for free, is that the next pyramid, the Khafre's pyramid, the second big one, the doorway is 24.5 meters high. In other words, it's 6 meters higher than the original Great Pyramid. And you think, hang on a minute, why is the doorway higher? I'd say possibly for aesthetics. They built the doorway up trying to replicate the first pyramid, but they got it wrong by 6 meters. Now, if the flood came up, and I know this because I was shown this in vision, the flood would come up to the 17.5 meter doorway height of the first pyramid, the Great Pyramid, every year when the snows from Ethiopia would come down and flood the plains of Egypt. All the rites were done. This is where all your flood rites originated from. Noah's Ark, which is the Nuach ceremony, and all of this, it's all tied back to Egypt. And now, if the water came up to 24.5 meters high, the doorway of the Great Pyramid would be flooded because it would be 6 meters under the water, right? 6 meters under the water, right. And it would flood in. So obviously this was built in error. It's a glaring anomaly that not one Egyptologist has picked up. Not one person on the planet has picked this up. And I've just handed it to you for free, right? So the other thing too is we get into the Sphinx height and the weathering of the body, and the Sphinx's head's below Giza Plateau. They cut it out of the bedrock there. So it was built way after, possibly 100, 150, 250,000 years after the Great Pyramid. And people go, these numbers are just phenomenal. It's impossible. Wow. Nothing's impossible. Nothing's impossible.
Yeah. All right. I was going to say, I got another guy, so I need to run. But before I run, if you want to check out John's book, it's called God's Mountain.
On Amazon, correct.
You can see more about what we're talking about.
Yeah. I'd love you to read it, Jeff, because there's a lot of stuff in there about evolution and the original fall and things like that. It's very deep and it's extremely esoteric, but
I need to get around to reading it. Problem is since I see people almost every day, it's
Correct.
and I have other books to read, and I tell them, even the newer people, the newer guests that come offer me their books, and I say, you know what, it's impossible for me to read your book. I've even got other books on the shelf.
I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
anyway, you take care, Jeff. Thanks for having me again.
All right, bud. Stop by anytime.
Okay,
I'll see you later.
Love to everyone. Bye.
All right. Cheers. And next we have Edgar Purviance. And so I've already gone over my allotted time because I usually go from 7 to 9 officially, and I'm already over time. So I'm going to make my last call for anybody who wants to get in. Edward, can you hear me?
Yeah, Edgar.
Edgar, I'm so sorry, bud. I don't know why I didn't pay attention because it's right there in front of my eyes that it says Edgar.
Oh yeah.
So where are you at? Where are you at, Edgar?
Currently I'm in San Jose, California.
San Jose, nice place. Nice place. My guest was just from. I had a guest from. Well, I haven't posted it yet, but my guest is also from San Jose.
Oh, nice.
And she said that a lot of people from San Francisco are moving out to San Jose. Is that true?
They're moving to a lot of places. Rent's like $5,000 a month.
Ooh, wow. That would be a reason to get out of there.
Yeah, it's a one reason.
Yeah. What's the tattoo on your arm?
Oh, it's a little guy.
Is it? It looks kind of like a cat.
Yeah, he kind of does look like a cat.
Cool.
So I wanted to tell you guys about my past life memory.
Mm-hmm.
I don't usually tell people this story. I kind of just keep it to myself.
Mm-hmm.
I remembered when I was 2 years old. I was still crib aged, and I had this memory come to me, and it felt like a memory. It didn't feel like something I was making up or like a dream or anything. It was very distinct, and it kind of happened in like flashes of scenes. So one scene is that I'm walking through a crowd of people. They're wearing like top hats and bonnets and such. I'm walking through this crowd of people, and they're kind of giving me these kind of like disgruntled looking looks. And I see, I'm feeling kind of giddy and like drunk. I see in the distance, there's like a man hiding behind a brick wall. And then in the next scene, I'm inside of a carriage, and it's in the middle of the night, and I remember kind of bouncing around on the inside of it. The next scene, I'm in a hospital, and there's people trying to talk to me, but I can't make out anything they're saying. And like their faces are just kind of blurry, and I don't really pay them much mind. And then the next scene is I remember the feeling of the sheets on my legs. And I think this is around the age where I would have just started using sheets, because young babies, you're not supposed to put sheets or anything in there. You're supposed to swaddle them. So somewhere around that age. And I think it's the physical sensation that kind of reminded me. But so there's a sequence in which I feel myself kind of snap together into a small point and eject out of the navel in one smooth motion. And I think that's the feeling of death. And then I have one disembodied memory after that point. And it doesn't have anything to do with the previous scenes, but it's kind of its own thing, and it becomes important. I remember I'm in the sky and I'm looking over what looks to be a graveyard, and there's a train track next to it. And I remember being so angry and bending the space near the train and the train derails through the graveyard, and I kind of dissipate. I eventually figured out what the who I was, and I figured out the train sequence didn't make any sense to me until like 5 years ago. I figured this out like way before as a child. But there's
well, let me ask you this. When
Sure.
I was listening to you, I'm going to give you my interpretation, but that's just me, and it doesn't mean it's real or anything. But it sounded like, from what you were saying, you were in a time of about 200, 150, 200 years ago. Sounded like you were drunk, you were walking around, you saw a man behind the wall, maybe he assaulted you, and then the next place you are is in the hospital.
I think he hit me in the head. And
then the next place is you know, whatever. I thought you were saying that was, you thought you were 2 years old, but I feel like there's a sequence of events of you at the end of a life.
Yeah, I was an adult man. So like when I was a child, I would look at my hands and wonder why I don't have wrinkles.
Oh, so you were remembering this as a 2-year-old, remembering.
Yeah, I'm remembering as a 2-year-old.
But you don't, have you ever been regressed, hypnotized to see if you can catch
No,
any
I
more
haven't.
of that?
These are all spontaneous memories when I get them.
Can you still remember that past life, or you can't anymore?
I do, and I periodically get new memories coming in. Yeah, I guess so. To proceed with this, I'm just gonna, I don't know if you want to guess who I was, but I can also tell you.
It's better you tell us, because I mean.
Okay, so I used to be Edgar Allan Poe.
Okay.
Okay.
He was British, Edgar Allan Poe?
No, he was American.
So we're talking 1800s or 1700s?
1849.
Okay. And this is he was probably where? Up in like Massachusetts, Connecticut, somewhere like that?
He was in Baltimore.
Okay.
He died.
Kind of close.
Yeah, the first week of October is always difficult for me. And I think it's because it lines up with his death week, because it took a week. But so the thing about the train didn't make any sense to me for a long time until about 5 years ago. And I was reading something about his original headstone was smashed by a train in a freak accident. A train was derailed through a stonecutter's yard. And it's documented.
I don't know much about Edgar Allan Poe, except, much beyond him being an author. Have you researched his life, and is it true? How did he die?
I have been reading him over the years. I've been kind of avoiding reading, but I've been looking a lot into it in the past handful of years. Yeah, he was a writer. He died from, people don't know, but he did die from a head wound. And they think it was from him being used as a repeat voter. And I think that's the closest answer that people are going to get for that.
A repeat voter? Is that what you said? What is that?
It's when they drug people and dress them in different clothes. And
a
use
repeat voter. I thought you said voter with a B.
I don't know.
Repeat voter. So maybe that was true. His opponent caught him and beat him for doing that.
I think it was one of the men he was with who wanted to get away from his current group of people and find another group of people.
Interesting. Pretty cool.
But then the other strange thing is that my current last name appears across both of his grave sites. He's buried twice in the same graveyard.
Right.
My last name, Provience, appears across the aisle from him in both locations. So at the head of the graveyard, you'll see the famous big headstone. Immediately across from it is a Provience headstone. And this happens twice.
What do you mean twice? On each side of him, there's both of a Provience?
At each grave site, there's a pair. Wow. It's always paired.
Interesting.
It's just like, there's just a lot of weird little things like this that keep coming out.
So do you have any interest in writing?
Yes, I do. I write short little books. I kind of ramble, but yeah, I write. I draw, paint. I have a BFA in interdisciplinary art.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, cool. I do all that. But
well,
I wanted to tell you guys about that.
I appreciate you sharing that with us.
Sure.
And if you definitely ever get hypnosis and discover more, you've got to come back and tell us.
Okay, I'll do that.
That would be cool to see if you find, if you find out it's true, and if so, you can find out more stuff.
Yeah. I had a couple of lives between that one and this one. The next life, I was a young man and I got half my body blown off in World War I. So
that's a bad ending.
Yeah, it is. So I came back as trans so that I can't get involved in the military anymore. So I think that's a certain level of planning on part of being a disembodied spirit, where you kind of pick what direction you're going in.
Well, it makes sense. As I mentioned earlier, I probably mentioned him twice. I have a hypnotherapist that's been on, my first hypnotherapist. I think his name's Chris Lee, and we talk about his past life regressions and things that maybe to protect you from the last life. Things are that's the way things are going in this life. For example, we were talking earlier today about people who have fear of success, or they just, I don't know, it's either a fear and or they sabotage their success. It's because in a previous life they were so successful that they got done in for it, maybe from a jealous person or a competitor or whatever, and so they don't want to get into that situation and be successful this life, so they won't get taken out again.
Well, I'm certainly not successful in this life, but I think that is my own doing. I kind of hide a lot. But I kind of prefer it too.
Well, maybe you should talk to Chris about that.
Talk to Chris. Okay.
Yeah. All right, bud, I've got to run to the next one, but I thank you for coming by and sharing, and I wish you the best.
Thank you.
All right, take care. And next is our good friend Stefan, or should we call him Steven? And again, this is my last call, so if anybody wants to join me, you got to hurry up before I finish with Steven. And while I'm waiting for Steven, I wanted to let you know that, yes, I've recorded 3 podcasts. And for those of you that are wanting to see other people from besides or from other countries and other cultures, I've got 2 of them coming up. Steven, can you hear me?
Hi.
How are you, my friend?
Oh, it's been hard. It's been very hard.
So what do you think about the new Beatles documentary movie that they're going to be putting out?
I love it. I love everything about the Beatles.
Coming on Disney.
Oh, more Disney, the corporate people, they take, we do all the work and they take all the money.
Uh-oh, you got slow internet today, my friend.
Yeah.
Your internet is really slowing you down, John. You should be wearing my glasses when you do the John impression. Uh-oh, now he is totally locked up. So as I was saying, 2 things.
The thunder from down under. Hey.
Oh, you're back.
Yeah, that's bad.
You're back. So anything new from the last time I've seen you? Oh, Are you there or are you frozen? This is what it would be like if you're frozen. Anyway, so I was saying in 2 weeks is the Halloween
I hear the audio,
stream.
so maybe.
What was that?
Well, the audio, I can hear you.
You're freezing on my end. You are a statue. You're like not moving, and then your voice is chopped out too. Can you walk somewhere? Can you move? Can you move to a part of your building where you can get a better Wi-Fi
No, the
signal?
internet's terrible here.
It's terrible.
Yeah, it's terrible.
You maybe need to go to like a Starbucks or somewhere, and then they've got good Wi-Fi, and then go from Starbucks. How about that? You got a Starbucks near you for next time?
I don't know. Can you hear this?
Are you playing guitar? If you're playing guitar, don't play anything that is somebody else's music. Are you playing guitar? Is that you? Yeah. Don't play anybody else's music because I might fall into copyright issues.
Oh, this is all just me.
Okay, good. As long as it's original, we're good. I didn't know you're a guitar player too.
Yeah, I juggle, play guitar, do impressions.
Do impressions. You are a man of the stage.
Big. We got some big stuff for you tonight, folks. You gotta love it.
That's right. You do Trump, right?
I just put up a video where I did Trump. He's like, the Buddha and the snake. Make sure to not let any snakes in.
What is your YouTube channel again?
It's just my name, Stephen Cake.
Stephen Cake. If you want to see some more impressions, come to his YouTube channel.
And I got the spirit orb videos.
You got
and the juggling videos. And,
oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, because I have a spirit with me all the time.
Right. I forgot her name. I should know her name.
Right off to my left here.
What is her name?
Monique. She's from South Africa.
Monique from South Africa. We have to like. Now when I should say Stephen and Monique are here instead of just Stephen. Does she know? Do you think it would be interesting? It would be amazing if we could get her, to somehow be an orb or something at the same time so we can all see her.
You know what she does is she moves my hand in shapes like circles, squares, triangles, but nothing like it's not like automatic writing or something like that. So like she'll just get me to do a circle or a square or like just shapes like that.
For those of you that are new, Stephen is a regular guest, and if you're new tonight, he's come on and he has an entity that is with him quite often, but it's a benevolent, good entity, right?
Yeah, because when you're suffering, the other side can see that, and
right.
So people here can deny everything, but people on the other side, they can see if you're struggling, so they'll send help. So before my life was destroyed, God had to create miracles to keep me alive. He gave me a vision of the future, or the spirit world, however you want to phrase that.
Do you find that do you watch my videos pretty often or regularly?
Yeah. You just had a really good one that you uploaded.
Right. Do you find that they're helpful for you?
Yeah,
personally?
I think so. I've been watching since YouTube was first put up. I mean, the like really old, like it was like Bill's Indies or something. Like there wasn't very many when YouTube first came up.
Right. That would have been interesting.
Now there's lots and lots.
Oh yeah. There's a ton of them. There's a ton of anything you want to watch. There's so many YouTubers.
There's so much stuff you'll never even know exists.
Right.
Yeah.
There's so many, and there's so many amazing YouTubers that have huge audiences that you don't know that they exist.
You'll never know of. Yeah.
Right. So it's amazing. It really
until
is.
they have a scandal, and then you'll find all about it.
Yeah.
And then it'll be on every channel covers it.
Right. So do you have anything positive that you want to give us this week? A positive message?
God loves you. I mean,
that's a good one.
He thinks you're great.
That's a good one. All right, brother. Well, I'm going to run to the next guest. I appreciate you popping in. I'm happy to see you.
Have a good night.
I wish you the best. And do you have a Halloween?
You got to do what you got to do, man.
Do you have a Halloween costume? Because in 2 weeks is Halloween stream and it's costumes optional. So maybe I'll see you dressed up as.
You could just turn the lights off. That's scary enough.
You could just get like some of these glasses and then you'll look a little bit more like John.
The thunder from down under. Joel Scott.
Now you're doing John Scott. That'll be interesting if he sees that you've got an impressionist of him.
I try to do everyone that I listen to.
Oh, that's cool. All right, Stephen. Well, let me run to the next one. You take care. Have a good week, brother. Cheers.
Bye.
And let me see. What am I doing here? Oh, I guess that he let himself out. And Arnault. What if that's his first name or his last name? We'll find out shortly. So in 2 weeks is the Halloween special. I've got an NDE and then an NDE with an emergency room physician. And where he had an NDE-like experience. And then I've got an OBE with a woman that is, we were talking about earlier, that's a Hindu woman, but she's seen Hindu gods and archangel or angels, plural. I'm not really sure. I can't remember them. They all kind of sometimes blend in together because I do them every day and then I'm editing the next day. And then, so I guess you guys could see that when I have the video with the guest and then I'm editing and I'm kind of going through it again, but I'm editing it a lot of times the next day, right? Before or after I just had another guest. So it's kind of like it's a daily thing for me. So that's why maybe you can understand that they all mix together after a while. And I wonder if Arnault can make it. I'm not sure if he can or cannot. We're waiting. So those are the two things coming up. I hope you guys will really like those videos. Halloween stream. That's a great title. I like that, Penny. Yeah, Halloween stream. That is a good one. I should title it that. Let me see. If there's anything else I should address here in the chat. It doesn't seem like it. Not yet. No. Let me think if there's any more announcements that I have. I was saying earlier, and I thought this is really fascinating, and you might want to check out it. There's a YouTube video about why of ancient Egypt, and I'll just talk about that while we're waiting. So I was watching it today, and ancient Egypt is the only civilization in antiquity where people were obese and sick and had heart disease, and they were believing that is because, and it wasn't throughout the entire population, it was only through the wealthy or royal or rich class, depending on how you want to put it. But those people had the means to add flaxseed oil and or sesame oil in their diet. And they were saying that using those oils are bad for you. And that's the missing link to all these health problems. So, anyways, I'm waiting. I guess Arnault is going to be my last guest if he can make it. I'm waiting on him to see if he can get it or not. I'm asking again. So that was, it was a very interesting video. And it's interesting to think about because not too long ago, I was reading or watching something about salad dressings not being good for you because of the oils they use in them. That's an interesting question. Or a statement. You need consent from families to be reincarnated into them. Sesame oil and flaxseed oil. Actually, there was before what led me to that video was an article I read that they're saying that all oils are bad for you because they're processed, and they even included olive oil. And basically, what they're saying is that you should really just cook with butter, and I'm guessing you could use ghee because that's clarified butter, or like pork fat or beef fat. And the article said that in the United States in the 1800s, there was 0 incidences of cardiovascular or heart disease, and cancer disease or death was only at 0.5%. And at that time in the US, people didn't have any seed oils at all. It was just butter, pork fat, or beef fat. So it's a very interesting thing to think about. Is the science correct? I don't know. And I always thought, too, that olive oil was good for us, but I don't know. And here's another quick thing while I'm waiting to see if he's going to come on. If you ever get a chance to get very fresh olive oil, when you take a sip of it, it burns the back of your throat. There's an olive farm about an hour's drive from me. We visited one time. I didn't know anything about that till I was there. They were letting us sample the olive oil because they press it there at their olive farm, and it is true. You take a sip and it burns the back of your throat. I can't remember what the linoleic acid or whatever the actual acid was, oleic acid, maybe something like that. But most of the olive oil we get is probably pretty old. And if it doesn't burn the back of your throat, then you know it is old. So on that note, heart disease, cancer were unheard of, says a lot. Someone else is pointing. So that's it. So sometimes when it's slow, I may, some of you may or may not know I'm a chiropractor, although I don't really practice that much anymore. I still keep my license current. So I just thought about it today. And at the very beginning of the podcast, I was just kind of giving you health tidbits like that. And one thing that I read and I believe in is that somebody said somewhere that health is a triangle. On one point is spiritual health, one is chemical, and one is physical. And if you raise one, you raise them all, and you lower one, you lower them all. So you can make your chemistry better by eating better food, then your physical is going to be better, and your spiritually you're going to be happier. And either way with any of them. Arnold, I don't know if you can make it or not, brother or sister. I don't know. I just don't know. And I'm about to end this. I'm going to hit ask. Oh, well. Let me put in waiting room, and we got someone else that just joined. At the last minute, last seconds of the podcast. Sean McDowell. Hello, Sean. Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can. What's going on with you today?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good, Jeff. I actually reached out to you yesterday on Facebook.
Okay.
So, yeah, I've been a fan of your show for a while. I love the NDEs and
cool.
A lot of the paranormal stuff you have on here.
Thank you. Where are you calling from? I mean, not calling, but where are you zooming from?
Charlotte, North Carolina.
Charlotte. All right. I just had someone from, one of my first guests tonight was from Raleigh, your neighbor.
Okay. Yeah, not very far from here.
I remember just
a few hours.
Yes. Now, I remember we were chatting and I told you to come on. I forgot, honestly, what we were chatting about. So tell us.
So I think you might have been mistaken me for somebody else, but just reached out on Facebook the other day. Just kind of like really brief, but there's like one thing I could just say really briefly to you here. It's that time of year, Halloween, a lot of stuff with ghost stories. I can tell you, just growing up here, when I was about maybe 5 or 6 years old, just in our family's home, I would sometimes see apparitions in our house. I don't know if you're familiar with like shadow people, that kind of thing.
Yes, we talk about them.
Now, what I saw was kind of similar to that, but what was weird about it was rather instead of them being all like black or darkness, they were completely pink.
Wow.
And you would see like some kind of like shimmering or sparkles to them, but I would see them sometimes. They would just walk from one room to another, never in a room where there's any other family member. I never recall them ever coming in the room where I was, but I would just see them kind of walk from, say, my parents' bedroom to my sister's bedroom, or I might see them just kind of walk from the den into the living room. So that went on for maybe about a year and a half, and then I just remember at some point in first grade, I just stopped seeing them. So I don't know if that was still in my house or what that was about.
I wonder if they were if you were seeing, when you were young, you were able to see into another dimension.
I've looked into that a little bit, so I don't know if maybe just you hear about children being able to be more connected to those kind of things.
Yeah, possible. I mean, and I've never heard him being pink, but maybe that dimension through the we can only see so much colors and stuff, so it was coming through in that color.
I think so. I mean, I kind of describe them as shadow figures because that's the only type of apparition that I've ever heard that described what I saw. Just silhouette of a person. It seemed like it was a tall man, just kind of casually just walking around our home. But it was just all that one color. I never saw more than one at a time.
One at a time, and no one else in your family saw, right?
No. In fact, I didn't tell them about this until I was grown. I just kind of told them, hey, when I was a kid, I used to see this in our house. You guys ever see anything?
They might have said you had an imaginary friend. Although they might have saw it too, and they didn't want to say anything.
Possibly. Now, in that same old house, we ended up selling that house a few years ago. But maybe you can fast forward. Maybe when I'm in college, I'm just kind of home with my mom. One other weird thing I can remember happening in that house. This is middle of the day. This is a cloudy Sunday. We've actually got all the windows closed, and I'm at home, just kind of chilling. My mother is there with me, so I go in the kitchen to make a sandwich. What I see in our living room, I see an actual like you've heard of it, like orbs. Sometimes people see in photography.
Yes.
Well, I saw this thing. It was like a white ball of light, just kind of just kind of casually, slowly, just kind of forms and then floats through our living room. Now I'm seeing this from the kitchen. I watch it go behind the couch, and then you don't see anything else. I look at my mother, and then she's like, "Did you see that also?" She saw that. So, my first thought was maybe this was maybe somebody's like a reflection from somebody's car coming from outside, but this was in the daytime. There was no sun. It was actually cloudy that day, so you wouldn't have had any light coming and flashing and coming into the room with us. So neither of us could wrap our heads around what that was about.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing that you both saw it.
Yeah.
And were you standing together or different parts of the room?
She was in the living room. I was actually in the kitchen.
So that wasn't a reflection, I wouldn't think.
No, we were yards apart, and we were both looking at the same thing, but from different angles in the house.
That's amazing. All right, you got anything else to tell? Because I've got to run here pretty soon, and you caught me at the very end.
Gotcha.
But are you going to make it to the Halloween stream?
Oh, I didn't know you had one.
That's in 2 weeks. The Saturday before Halloween, it's Ghost Night. You would have been perfect because these are kind of like ghosts. It's Ghost Night, Spooky Night, costume optional. If you want to even wear a costume.
Hey, that sounds fun. I will, one way or another, I'll check it out.
Cool. You got anything else to share before I run?
Well, I can say one other thing.
All right.
I mean,
sure.
Even just right in Charlotte, is when I was a kid, I actually saw a UAP here.
Oh, wow.
And I was also with another person. This was broad daylight. I was probably 13 years old. So we were actually just hanging out in my friend's backyard. We'd finished doing a science project, and we were just hanging out, just tossing a football. I happened to look up, and I see this really, really, really bright object. Maybe at first I thought maybe it was an airplane, but it was extremely bright. It was like polished metal. What kind of stood out to me though was that it wasn't moving, wasn't making any sound. Mm-hmm. So I look at it for a few seconds. And then I tell my friend, hey, are you seeing this thing? So he looks at it for a couple seconds too. And then suddenly thing just zips off. Like it went so fast, if you had blinked, you wouldn't have seen it.
Wow. And he saw it too?
I don't know if he saw it take off, but I did. So.
Wow. I mean, did he see it period at all?
Yeah, I think he got a glimpse of it. But I think the whole thing might have only taken maybe about 30 seconds. What really gave it away was the thing just shot off at a dead stop.
I don't know. That's cool. It's awesome that you have confirmation.
Yeah.
Cool. Too bad you didn't have, well, you were 13. I said, too bad you didn't have video of that. That'd be great.
We didn't even have, I'm probably older than I look here. I'm 40 years old. So
wow.
That was 1995. We didn't even have like cell phones or cell phone cameras back then.
Yeah, that was nothing back in those days. Yeah, 95. I don't know if I may have still been on the pager back then.
Yeah.
I know I was in the early days. All right, Sean. Well, thank you so much for sharing with us. I really appreciate you, and I hope you come back.
Thanks.
All right.
You take care. Have a good night.
You too. And this will be my last try for this Arnold, because I put him back in the waiting room. We'll see if Arnold figured it out. Otherwise, that will be it. Ask to start video. All right, I'll check the chat real quick while we're waiting. Anything else I need to check out here? Many thanks to Brother Jeff and his guest. Thank you, Brother Lighthouse, for being here today. Oh, they've written everything before. Not sure what that's about. Fell asleep and woke up. It's 3:30 in the morning for Kim. She's watching and fell asleep in the podcast. I know really nothing about Poe. October, many spirits. Who said that? If anything I've learned from the podcast. All right. I don't think it's gonna work this time, Arnold. You must be, I don't know if it's with your internet or what, but I hope you can figure it out for next time, because I'm going to call it a night. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for watching my videos, and I hope to see you next Saturday night. Have a great evening and a great weekend.